This is a special presentation of Victoria Generals Baseball. After 8 long weeks in the Texas and Louisiana humidity, we have made it to the final weekend of the Texas Collegiate League regular season as the two most storied franchises in TCL history once again tune up for the third time in the last 3 days and for the third time in possibly 7 of the next 8 days as the Brazos Valley Bombers come to Riverside Stadium to conclude this regular season over the next 2 nights in a once again pink night here at the ballpark for Strikeout Cancer Night, presented by Citizens Medical Center and your friends at TISD.net, the official internet provider of your Victoria Generals. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Party Box at Riverside Stadium. My name is Max Cepeda, and more importantly, it is a very, very festive night. Of course, obviously, you can see basically right above here on our little graphic here that we have the auctioneer out. The jerseys obviously will be pink tonight and will be auctioned out to fans following tonight's game. We do have some rain in the forecast. We do have some sprinkles going on right now. We have yet to been told whether there is going to be a delay for this game or not. But the good news is that I am once again not alone here on the Party Box tonight as the man once again who I was of course formerly the voice of the Brazos Valley Bombers, the man who is now filled in that seat beautifully and has done so over the last 2 months. The Tulsa native and the current Arizona State Sun Devil, one and only Brendan Paul, is back. Brendan, welcome back to Riverside, and we've made it. We've made it to the end.
I appreciate it. It has been a wild ride throughout the summer, but here we are in a tune-up series before, more importantly, Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe Thursday in the first round of the TCL playoffs.
No, absolutely. And if you're wondering how that's necessarily going to work, this is how. This is the official 2024 Texas Collegiate League postseason bracket. And you can obviously see the numbers when it comes to the seeding is not traditional. It's necessarily when it comes to overall record. And certainly these numbers can obviously change if the Generals end up sweeping this 4-game series. And if the Cane Cutters can possibly take care of business against Seguin, Acadiana would possibly get the number 2 best overall record because they beat the Bombers 6 of the 10 times they played in the regular season, which means if Brazos Valley upsets Victoria in a semifinal and Acadiana takes care of business against Lake Charles, championship game is in Lafayette.
Absolutely, and that would be an interesting trip indeed. You know, the Bombers haven't fared so well with a couple of factors in Lafayette. It's obviously a long way to travel, but you're playing against the rowdy fans and a rowdy environment. As long as they can take care of business, get a win in their back pocket, they'll be able to have the championship game at home if they're able to pull the upset in the first round.
Well, overall, obviously, this bracket looks a whole lot different than it did 2 years ago. Obviously, the Seguin River Monsters, the defending TCL champions, are on the outside looking in, and the Baton Rouge Rougarou, who had to win on the last day against Acadiana to get into the 4-team field, now sit on the outside looking in with, of course, the inclusion of Lake Charles into this new year. Looking at this 4-team field, Brendan, obviously a whole lot of attention is going to be put on this series once it gets started on Tuesday with all the storylines, with the fact that this is obviously the league's longest-lasting rivalry, with the history between these two sides, and the fact that in many cases the Victoria Generals have been on the wrong side when it comes to postseason matchups against Brazos Valley. 7 titles to 2, 10 TCL title appearances to 5. There's a whole big difference between those two. Besides necessarily, obviously, the drama that's going to bring with a semifinal matchup, which semifinal team would you feel like you would want to play, at least on the Louisiana side, in a potential TCL title game?
I think if you're either side, the Bombers or the Generals, with the way Lake Charles has kind of hit the skids in this second half, I think if they're able to get past the Cane Cutters, who have gotten red hot here in the last week and a half or so, I think Lake Charles would be the team you would want to play. But it's going to come down to, can they continue to push back like they did in that first half? They've been less than impressive in this second half. So if you're the Bombers or the Generals, Lake Charles is more favorable, but they've got a tall uphill battle.
But talk to me about this. You've seen this team grow, obviously, over time, and obviously with the fact that the Brazos Valley Bombers, since we last spoke, now have a new head man. Mark Whitehead is now the new head coach after Brian Nelson, who has so many connections to this league, is now going to be leaving to take over a job that we all thought he would take over at Oakland University with the Bears, over, of course, in the Horizon League. And Mark Whitehead is now going to be not only the guy interimly, he will be back here in 2025. So what necessarily do you feel like has changed about the Bombers really over this week and a half that Whitehead has been in charge? And do you feel like that number 2 that's next to the Bombers' name is still deserving considering all the chaos that we've seen in every other franchise, maybe except for Victoria?
I think that there's not a lot that has changed with Whitehead taking over for Brian Nelson. It just seems that they've gotten the right group of guys and they've gotten hot at the right time. And this is a core group that's stuck throughout most of the season through the ups and the downs. They're battlers. They want to be here. They want to try and win ball games and compete for a championship. And I think that if the Bombers are able to take care of business, I think it is a much-deserved number 2 seed overall because of the first half where they were just a little below 500 and the way they've battled back here in the last day or two of June and through the month of July.
Absolutely, and certainly as we quickly take a glance, which you obviously will see much through the night of the current standings, this is obviously, none of these numbers necessarily are going to change, obviously, and really the big number, though, at least from my opinion, and maybe this is from my general's perspective, is the fact that Victoria has 8.5 games better than everybody else. And I understand that there's going to be a lot of, you were mentioning college football in your broadcast last night. I think a lot of us who have that sports ideology when it comes to college football would look at the bracket and be like, this kind of reminds me of the 2023 college football playoff with Georgia and Ohio State on one side of the bracket and Michigan and TCU, and the fact that you kind of had the upstarts, the teams that hadn't really proven themselves on one side and the teams that were well proven on the other side, and you felt like that, well, maybe whoever wins that one side of the bracket is probably going to be the overwhelming favorite come the title game. Do you necessarily feel like that with the way Victoria has played, and we'll kind of show it necessarily on possibly some playoff watch list for Anthony Avalos, Damian Whitfield, who is not in the building tonight, who's obviously recalibrating from the injury that he suffered in the third inning. He looks to hopefully possibly come back for the postseason. And then Drew Schmidt, the UT Tyler Patriot, who's been on fire. Do you feel like the Victoria Generals have established themselves as obviously, I feel like maybe my perspective is different, but from your perspective on the outside looking in and seeing this team now over the last 2 nights as currently constructed, do you feel like this team is head over heels the favorite right now to win this championship?
I would say at the record they have and how well they've played throughout the first half and the second half, Victoria probably is that number 1 seed, that team that a lot of teams are going to be gunning for. I think the Bombers have realized that, and they're giving their A game to this general side every night they play. They want to get that upset win. They want to make their way to the championship because I think, like you mentioned in that playoff, whoever makes it out, most likely whoever makes it out between the Bombers and Generals will probably be favored the rest of the way to win the TCL title.
And remember, it's a 1-game TCL championship. That's what made really each of the last 2 seasons in this league so great, with Acadiana being the last team in and going on the run that they did, with Seguin having the run in the month of July that they did a year ago, and then winning 3 out of 4, including their only victory in the history of their franchise in this ballpark in Game 3 of the semifinal round, and then, of course, going into Edible Field and holding the Bombers to 1 run and 14 runners left on in that championship game. But really, when it comes to this playoff watch list for me, obviously Anthony Avalos and Damian Whitfield have been really at the top tier, not only of the Generals roster, but really of this entire league. Obviously, Avalos, number 2 in the league in batting average, 6 for his last 14. Whitfield, 17 walks, 16 stolen bases, and 10 runs scored in just his last 12 games. But Drew Schmidt, last night, you were on the call for this, he certainly is now, especially over these last 3 games, has certainly started to pick up a pace to where he could become a cornerstone for the Generals if they want to win a championship.
Absolutely, and Drew Schmidt displayed the power that he has. He hit a home run over the left field wall out in Edible Field, the first time we've seen that, or at least I've seen that this summer, and he's really been one of those cornerstone pieces for this Generals lineup. At the top, it's usually you've got Avalos, you've got Whitfield, you've got Bragg, you've got Nickens up there, but Drew Schmidt has started to find his way in that 5, 6, 7 spot of the lineup to continue to improve on what obviously the top 4 can do.
No, absolutely. And it's going to be a very different looking lineup really on both sides. Obviously, if you're haven't seen the Brazos Valley Bombers since they were last year in Victoria, if you're watching on TCL TV, they do look quite different than they did obviously a summer ago. No Chris Benavidez, no Hodge brothers. There's a whole lot changing in when it comes to the offense, and we'll talk about it when it comes to the lineups in just a second. But when it comes to tonight's pitching matchup and our Men on the Bump presented by Texas Roadhouse, whole lot is different with this pitching matchup because you got two guys who are going to be wearing their uniforms. One who's wearing it for just the second time this week, second time in the last 4 days, and Cole Rodriguez, who is the new recent transfer at Henderson State, which, if you're wondering, is a small junior college that is just south of Hot Springs, Arkansas. In, by the way, a town that I had to look up called Arkadelphia, which is like Arkansas meets Philadelphia. I think that's a great.
It's a fun town.
Have you been there?
I have once.
Okay,
yes.
okay. And then on the other side, you got Cole Brady, who obviously is right now an uncommitted transfer who just had Tommy John surgery over this past 18 months, but he hasn't really thrown a baseball in a competitive game since his time at Weatherford College nearly 2.5 years ago. So what are you kind of expecting out of this pitching matchup between one guy who only faced 6 batters that you saw 3 days ago, and then a guy who hasn't been on a mound in this kind of mindset in nearly 700, 800 days?
I think the thing for the Bombers is, from the perspective of Cole Rodriguez, he's a guy that they wanted to get out of the bullpen just to see. It was his debut. They wanted to see what they could get out of him, and they got a great relief appearance out of him. So they want him to go potentially maybe 3 to 4 innings, try and keep the pitch count low because they don't want to overwork him. He had that appearance a couple days ago against Seguin. And for a guy like Cole Brady, you just want to see how he fares in his first game back. It's been a while. You want him to throw a baseball in a series that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot in terms of playoff matchups or anything like that. So you want to see how far he can go, and maybe he'll provide a solid start for Victoria.
And just think about this. To show how true journeymen these two guys are, they have played at a combined 7 different schools. One's a junior, one's a senior. One's technically in the Brace of Brady, a redshirt junior, with the fact that he had to go through Tommy John surgery. So these are two guys who have had to go through a whole lot of clubhouses and a whole lot of different situations. And for Brady, last time he was on the mound in 2022 at Weatherford, 18 appearances, 1-3 with a 23 1/3 innings pitched, 3.86 ERA. His fastball at the time as an uncommitted JUCO sophomore nearly 2 years ago was around 88 to 91, has been up to 93, which obviously in this kind of a league is certainly going to be an asset. But necessarily when it comes to Cole Rodriguez, against a lineup like Seguin, which obviously has struggled a whole lot this season, what do you think Rodriguez is going to have to do differently now going against a lineup that is entirely different in the one that the now pink and blue are wearing in the Victoria Generals?
I think Cole Rodriguez proved that he's got a solid pitch mix. He has a good fastball, and he mixes in some changeup and slider from time to time. So it's going to be mixing that up, getting the knockout pitch to work when you get into 2 strikes, not walking too many guys. And I think if he can carry over the success that he had against Seguin, I think it can work well today in his favor for the Bombers side.
As you can see, 2 innings pitched, 2 strikeouts, and just 6 batters face for Rodriguez. The auction is just about to conclude. We have a couple players left. Braylon Owens and Zach Ryan have yet to have their jerseys auctioned, but as of right now, we have yet to been told that there is going to be a delay on this game. We're probably going to stay on at least until the end of the auction, just so we at least get some confirmation for all of you at home. But before we do so, we'll take a look quickly at the starting lineups for each side so you guys can have maybe a clearer view of the gray skyline that we have here in Victoria. For the Bombers, obviously, like I mentioned, very different lineup, Brock DeYoung, but really the 2 ones that I at least have my eye on here, Brendan, at least from the outside looking in. Number 2 here to Tristan Russell, and at the 8-hole, Harrison Griffith. 2 guys who haven't necessarily had great seasons at the plate, and even necessarily when it comes to the defensive shift, the combined 13 errors between the 2 in the field. But what necessarily about those 2 guys, from you at least seeing this team day in and day out, is so important to have in the lineup day in and day out?
Tristan Russell, after last night, had a couple of RBI singles, so they're going to look to get him at the top of the lineup to continue on the success, especially with 2 strikes in the count. He's had a lot of his base hits coming in 0-2, 1-2, 2-2 counts, so if you can get a couple of clutch hits from Russell at the top of the order, that really sets things up for 3, 4, 5. And then if you're Harrison Griffith, he shifts over back to his natural position that he played at Oakland University. He was a first baseman, didn't play third until this summer, but wanted to try it out and has really adjusted to it nicely here in the last week or so. And for Harrison Griffith, he takes a lot of hit-by pitches. He gets on base a lot of the hard ways. So if you can get him on at the bottom of the order, it sets things up for that top half.
And the Oakland influence is very much present on this Bombers roster, especially with center fielder Taylor Tomlin, who recently announced his transferring to Oakland to join head coach Brian Nelson on the West Coast. So will be interesting to see how this Bombers lineup necessarily fares against the new Cole Brady. And as for what Cole Rodriguez is going to face, obviously the headed monster of Avalos and Nickens is still very present. Connor Clark has made it very clear that he is the speed and contact presence that Michael Oros has brought. But I'm going to be very interested to see now with Schmidt moving up to the cleanup spot. Obviously, as we mentioned, no Damian Whitfield. And obviously, we mentioned this, of course, back on Wednesday, having no Riley Bender, who is obviously a top 3 hitter when it comes to RBIs in this league. Having him out of this order, going to be very interesting to see from the Bombers' perspective how they can take advantage with no Whitfield and no Bender, at least for now in the temporary, not in this lineup. Could be possibly the situation for Game 1 of the semifinals.
If you're the Bombers, you want to go after him. You want to try and not give the Generals a lot of opportunities to claw back in and get anything going with that 4-5-6 order, because we saw what Schmidt did last night, and we've seen over the past couple of series what Jacob Sanchez can do. So for the Bombers, just retire your guys, stick with your stuff, and hopefully you can continue to or have some more success with Whitfield and Riley Bender absent from the lineup.
No, absolutely. So Riley Bender, as we mentioned, he is on vacation, of course, to the Dominican Republic. The second player on the Victoria General, surprisingly, that is leaving the country. Travis Bragg, of course, left following the All-Star break and then came back and ended up winning another TCL Player of the Week award. And then, of course, now with Bender. So certainly going to be interesting to see how the infield depth now changes. But like we mentioned, it seems that Drew Schmidt has that covered.
Drew Schmidt has been very well, and as we've talked about, he had a great last night. He's had a great couple of last games at Edible Field, so as long as he can get some more experience and keep things going, he will be just fine going into this last week or this last weekend series and the playoffs.
Well, the auction has just now officially concluded, and according to Victoria General's Vice President General Manager Mike Yoakum, who is the MC over presiding, it appears that the umpiring crew has come out, and we're going to be playing baseball very, very soon. So it does not appear that we're going to have some kind of delay. But we're going to at least take a quick break for now, at least when it comes to our analysis. And on the other side, we'll obviously reiterate starting lineups and, of course, the men on the mound when we have first pitch on the other side on this final regular season series of the 2024 Texas Collegiate League season. It's the greatest rivalry in the history of the league, Bombers Generals, once again here at Riverside on the other side. back on the banks of the Guadalupe River as we are back for the final weekend of the TCL regular season. As you can see on your screen, the bracket is filled and complete. 4 teams are in, 2 teams are out, and the 2 most successful franchises in TCL history facing off in a unlikely scheduling coincidence of facing each other 4 times to end the regular season before their all-important matchup starting next Tuesday in the best-of-3 series to determine which Texas franchise will represent the state in the TCL Championship. But on to our top half play-by-play, and once again reiterating on the Bombers starting lineup tonight to face Generals newcomer Cole Brady is Brendan Paul. Brendan.
For the Bombers, they welcome a couple of new faces to the Victoria crowd. You may be looking at a couple of names like Brock DeYoung at the top, a recent commit to Navarro Junior College, who is a baller as described by his team. Tomlin, another newcomer, a good outfielder recently from Oakland. And then Sebastian Kuntz will be behind the dish, another newcomer from Warner University. And Cam Sala, two-way guy. He pitched last night, but tonight he'll be in left field.
Fairly interesting group, that new Bombers head coach Mark Whitehead, who has been 2-4 since officially taking the job on July 19th. And the first pitch of this Saturday night contest is upstairs for ball 1. Obviously, we did a little decorating with our scorebug tonight, as with all of our graphics in honor of Strikeout Cancer Night presented by our friends at Citizens Medical Center. Jerseys here in this ballpark going for upwards of $700.
Pretty impressive stuff indeed.
1-0 from Brady. Upstairs as DeYoung has to back off of that one, and it's 2 balls and no strikes.
Brady set. 2-0 coming to Brock DeYoung here, the leadoff man. That one misses low and away. It's now 3-0. So Russell at third base. He's recently taken over some hacks at third base. He will be waiting in the wings on deck. Cole Brady from the belt. 3-0. Automatic take is in there for a strike, so DeYoung will have to pick up the bat and recollect himself in the box. It's 3-1.
84-mile-an-hour breaking ball there from Brady. And for DeYoung, 7 games, 7 for 23. This is the Cinco Ranch, Texas native. 7 runs scored, a double, 5 RBIs, 3 for 7 already in this series.
Brady set 3-1. That one misses low. It's a 5-pitch walk to DeYoung, and that is some speed on the base paths for Mark Whitehead and company.
And that's going to be kind of the compelling thing with this pitching matchup, Brendan, is are both offenses going to take advantage of these 2 guys who are incredibly inexperienced with their rosters, and with 2 really lineups for the most part have been really solid for much of this summer. Or the offense is going to have a night tonight.
Tristan Russell, the switch-hitting third baseman, steps in. Lefty-righty matchup against Cole Brady. First offering, fastball in there for a strike. It's 0-1. So it'll be, as we mentioned, DeYoung, Russell, and Taylor Tomlin. 1, 2, 3 for the Bombers here in this penultimate regular season game. 0-1, DeYoung off and moving, pitches outside. The throw down is in time to get DeYoung. And Hal Perez, 1 for 1 on the challenge. And here comes Mark Whitehead right off the bat.
Yeah, and Whitehead, you were mentioning this to me pregame, and I was watching your coverage on Thursday night, where Mark Whitehead has proven from really the moment that he has become a Bombers head coach that he is going to defend his players on nearly every single play. But once again, Hal Perez proving that he's probably one of, if not the best defensive catcher alongside Lake Charles's Creighton Morse in the entire TCL.
So Whitehead content, at least for now, with the explanation. It'll be Russell back in on a 1-1 count. Here it is from Brady. A breaking ball finds the inside part of the plate. It's 1-2.
Russell in 40 games batting 186 with 27 hits, tied for 9th in the league in runs scored with 27, tied for 3rd in doubles with 8, number 7 in the league in RBIs with 21, number 6 in stolen bases with 23.
These are the top 2 stolen base teams in the TCL as Russell swings and misses through that one. Drop third, strike, throw over to Mark Henning at first is in time, so it's a strikeout, 2 away for the Bombers.
So a roller coaster really through these first 2 batters for Cole Brady, but it looks like, at least for now, that the fastball command is at least on point. The question is, with this Bombers lineup, which is probably the most power-focused lineup in this entire league, how is Brady necessarily going to handle if he's throwing meatballs consistently over the plate?
So Taylor Tomlin, the recently committed Oakland Golden Grizzly, steps into the box. First offering from Cole Brady is a breaking pitch that broke too far on the outer third. 1-0 the count. And Sebastian Kuntz, the big catcher. Only 9 position players traveling today for Brazos Valley. As Tomlin pops that one into the infield, or behind the infield rather, Hal Perez shucks the mask, makes the catch, and it's 1-2-3 in the untraditional fashion for Brazos Valley. Generals will have 1-2-3 in the bottom half when we return on TCL TV.
Here for the bottom of the first inning from Riverside Stadium, as Cole Rodriguez, wearing the number 15, is going to be starting to make his warm-up throws as we head to the bottom of the first. No score here at Riverside Stadium. Once again, here's your starting lineup for your Victoria Generals. 33-12 in the overall record, 17-5 in the second half. One more win than they had in the first half when they went 16-7. And as we mentioned back on Thursday, the Victoria Generals now officially having the highest winning percentage in franchise history in a single season, as hopefully with a win tonight, they can secure the first ever 700-plus winning percentage in franchise history.
And that would be an impressive mark for this Generals team that has been consistently good throughout the summer. 16-7 in the first half, and now 17-5 here to close it out.
And the new additions that Michael Oros has brought in, and the losses have felt like yesteryear, and it's felt like everything has merged together as the UH Cougar, Anthony Avalos, a contender for TCL Player of the Year, will step in to face Rodriguez, and the first pitch he sees is a swing and a miss for strike one.
And Cole Rodriguez likes to go right at these hitters right off the bat, wants to get either soft contact or blow it right by him.
A one to Ant-Man. Down below the knees, 80 miles an hour, breaking ball and a strike. As you mentioned, Brendan, Rodriguez has a fairly unique pitch repertoire that he at least showcased in the 6 batters faced against the River Monsters, as that one's on the outside corner called strike 2. That breaking ball could be lethal.
It is. When he lands it on that outer third like he just did, it is tough for hitters to make contact with.
Generals have proven that they're probably the best breaking ball hitting team in the league, as that one's fouled back. Remains 1-2. Avalos, as we mentioned, number 2 in the league in batting average at .329, number 4 in hits with 48, 2 away from 50 on the summer. Tied for 3rd in runs scored with 34. Number 2 in the league in RBIs with 28, number 2 in stolen bases with 31, number 3 in OPS at 876. So the 1-2 is lined into shallow right field. Going after it is Jackson Digg, but out there is the second baseman, DeYoung, who's able to make the catch on the pop fly, and it's one quick out here, bottom 1.
Good range by Brock DeYoung, and that's something that you'll see from him here. He played left field last night, and he's one of the fastest guys on this Bombers roster. He makes that play look routine. That's a tough play out there in shallow right.
It certainly is, with the cloudy skies right now, and obviously the current sprinkles that we have. We do have sprinkling rain currently in Victoria, but nothing deeming of any cancellations. Of course, similar to edible field. This is an artificial turf infield, but in natural grass outfield is Connor Clark's first pitch is grounded to the third base side. There is Russell to make a long distance throw to first, which is in time, and it's 2 quick outs here for Cole Rodriguez.
And a good pick there by Griffith at first. This is the position he's more comfortable with. He's played it throughout his entire collegiate career, and he made that pick look pretty routine. A quick snap, and the second out of the inning.
Cameron Nickens will now come to the dish. Nickens, of course, the recent commit to Austin Peay. After 3 years at the University of Houston, the Magnolia native, number 9 in the league, in batting average at 301, tied for 5th in hits with 41, and of course the current still home run leader with 3 across the league as he lines this one into left, and there to make a play on a diving play is Cameron Saylor, the man who started on the mound last night for Brazos Valley, making a diving catch.
What a play from him, and he's proven he was a good two-way player at Amarillo College, hit well and pitched well as well, and there he is. Highlight reel play in left.
Two-way player indeed is Sala. We're through 1. No score here between the Bombers and Generals. To the second inning we go on the other side here on TCL TV.
Back here, top of the second. A pretty routine inning. Both sides go 1, 2, 3 in the top half. I'm Brendan Paul, the voice of the Brazos Valley Bombers, and I'm here because Max Zepeda, the voice of the Victoria Generals, was kind enough to let me hop in the booth for the top half play-by-play duties. He'll still be with you through the bottom half and the rest of the summer here at home. As we are into inning number 2. Brady back out there. He'll face Sebastian Kuntz, Jackson Daig, and Cam Sala, the left fielder.
See how long his leash is for the Brazos Valley side, but knowing that tonight is a bullpen game for Michael Oros, wouldn't be surprised if we only get a 3-inning outing here from Brady.
Mark Whitehead, the manager, will coach third base, and it will be Blake Selke, another two-way guy in the first base box, as Sebastian Kuntz watches that elevated fastball just sail above the zone. It's 1-0.
Selke, of course, has probably been the most consistent two-way player across the league with both the power bat that he brings and 9 appearances on the mound already this summer.
1-0 hops in the turf. It skips into the glove of Perez. It's 2-0 now. Kuntz has been a pretty reliable hitter all summer long, near the top 3 in Bomber batting average. As the 2-0 just misses upstairs. Another 3-0 count here. Daig waits on deck, the right fielder tonight. 3-0 from Brady's inside. A 4-pitch walk for Sebastian Kuntz, and identical to the first, the leadoff man walks.
So Cole Brady, it seems at least right now that the breaking ball command hasn't necessarily been where he wants it to be, but you're going against a Bombers squad that does really well against hitting fastballs. It's going to be fairly interesting to see, obviously, how that really matchup unfolds. And like you said, these are 2 tune-up games, so when you have these 2 guys who haven't pitched in a while, they could be reliable bullpen arms come the postseason.
That pitch gets away from Perez, so Sebastian Kuntz takes second easily, and that one goes out of play, so we'll see. Sebastian Kuntz wanted third, but umpires will signal him back to second.
Yeah, it was a bad bounce. It basically hopped off the wood block here on this right side of the backstop and then rolled into the Bombers' dugout. And the moment it hits that concrete instead of the grass, it's out of play.
So Jackson Daig steps back in, a 1-0 count, and this is a guy with a lot of speed and a guy who's really turned it around at the plate in the past couple of weeks. Kuntz with a moderate lead out there at second. Cole Brady fires home the 1-0. It's a breaking pitch in there for a strike. That evens things at 1.
Daig, the Pinehurst native, currently at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, batting .232 this summer with 22 hits in 32 games, 15 runs scored, 10 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, 18 walks, 25 strikeouts, 3 for 6 in this series.
Breaking ball gets away from Perez. Sebastian Kuntz on the move, and he'll swipe third base. The Bombers have the first run of the game just 90 feet away.
And that's obviously, as you mentioned, these two teams love to be aggressive on the base pads, and that's probably one of the things I'm most excited about come that postseason series is how aggressive do the managers want to be on the base pads when a 2-run lead in the postseason will seem like 5.
With the way the night 1 pitchers pitch, it sure seems that way as Daig pops the 2-1 into shallow left field. Ranging in is Diaz, but it's Avalos from short who makes the catch. Kuntz faked the tag, and he will stay at third with 1 out.
And obviously, that's what every base running coach is going to tell you. Even on a play where no one's obviously touching your base, you obviously want to at least have the potential of running, even if it's someone like Kuntz necessarily who may not be your fastest runner.
So now it will be for his first Bomber at bat, Cam Sala. And the last time we saw a Bomber take their first AB here at Riverside Stadium, it was the man on deck, Trey Walker, and he put the first pitch right back up the middle for a base hit. Infield in. Fastball misses high, 1-0. Sala's got a lot of speed despite being a rather tall pitcher and outfielder. He can lay one down and beat it out. Brady set. 1-0. Sala skies that one. About identical spot, left center field. Ranging in is Diaz. He makes the catch. Kuntz again fakes the tag. The throw down was pretty much on the money to Hal Perez, so he stays put. 2 away.
And the science really behind both of those plays, Brendan, is the pitches. They were basically identical, 81, 82 breaking balls, low in the zone that necessarily if you're a right-handed hitter, you're going to go fish for necessarily to see if you could hook one into left field and drive in the run. But on both occasions, especially with maybe the slippery bats and obviously and all that kind of stuff, probably a little bit too underneath, and that's what results in the 2 pop-ups. And now if you're Brady, you get a chance to get out of the inning.
And steps Trey Walker, who we talked about, had his first plate appearance here at Riverside at the end of June. He swings and misses at an elevated fastball. It's 0-1. Walker came on originally as the bullpen catcher for this Bombers squad, but with a need for a spot in the lineup, he got a start as the 0-1 slider goes too far outside. It evens it at 1.
Walker, the freshman, 5'9", 205 at a College Station. The Grayson Community College Viking right now is Walker, was an A&M Consolidated High School graduate. 12 games, just batting .129, 4 for 31 this summer is Walker.
1-1. That one roped on a line, foul down the left field line, and now Cole Brady a strike away from stranding the run at third.
I wouldn't be surprised if Walker wants to go back to the breaking ball away, especially with a power hitter like Walker who struck out 14 times of his 35 plate appearances.
1-2. Breaking ball high and inside. That evens it at 2. So on deck is Harrison Griffith, the first baseman, Cole LeClaire in the hole, and then it flips back to the top of the order for Brazos Valley. Deuces wild, 2 outs. 2-2 in inning number 2. Breaking ball over the head of Walker. He ducks out of danger. That runs the count full.
Yeah, and this is probably a fastball must-be situation. If you're Brady, you're going to need probably a ball to go across the plate here. And obviously, it would be easy to rely on that left side of the infield considering Schmidt and Avalos have been 2 of your more consistent defensive players if you're Michael Oros.
3-2, swung on and missed. Fastball on the outer part of the plate. They strand Kuntz at third. It's 0-0. Bombers and Gens. Gens will have 4, 5, 6 due up here on TCL TV.
Going to promotions here at Riverside Stadium. Of course, Texas semifinal game number 2 this coming Wednesday. It'll be a free ticket night here at Riverside Stadium thanks to our friends at Ineos. Ineos, the official climate partner of your Victoria Generals. As we head to the bottom of the second inning, still no score between the Bombers and Victoria Generals. Max Cepeda alongside the voice of the Brazos Valley Bombers, Brendan Paul, alongside us here in the crossroads. And certainly, at least for both sides, at least both starting pitchers, at least look to be faring pretty well. Already, though, an arm, a southpaw already throwing right now in the Generals bullpen. So obviously good starts, but it looks like it's going to be more likely than not a bullpen day for both of these squads.
And that's what you were telling me right off the bat. You said for sure that it was probably going to be a couple of arms going out of the Generals bullpen. And for Mark Whitehead's side, it's going to be kind of all eyes on that pitch count on the left side of the scoreboard. You see a pretty efficient inning number 1 from C-Rod as he only threw 7 pitches. Mark Whitehead wants to keep him at 50 to 60. That's probably the number where he doesn't feel overworked and he can come back if needed in game 2 out of the bullpen.
Well, Cole Brady certainly looked impressive, allowed just 2 walks. Those were the only 2 base runners he faced, at least on the base paths, as that one's on the outside corner. For strike 1 to Drew Schmidt, who, as we mentioned, is 7 for his last 14 and has hit for the cycle in that time span, over that span of at-bats, as that one's on the outside corner, swing and a miss for strike 2, collecting both the triple and home run a night ago.
And it was an impressive night for him, just absolutely finding his way with the baseball there in those late innings.
0-2 from Rodriguez. Outside, 70-mile-an-hour slider that just goes too far outside. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
And that's exactly the knockout pitch that Cole Rodriguez is looking to hit. Outside slider, you want that right-handed batter to chase.
1-2 to Schmidt is upstairs with the fastball, 2 balls and 2 strikes. As we mentioned, these 2 sides will be playing in the final day of the regular season tomorrow at 7:05. Will once again be us 2 here in the broadcast booth here at Riverside, and then we'll have the collective day off on Monday, as that one's on the outside corner for strike 3. And it's the first punch out of the night for Cole Rodriguez in his 3rd of the young summer.
And a good pitch for him right on the outer third. Gets Drew Schmidt frozen. You know, Schmidt not wanting to chase that one as he thought it looked far outside. So good discipline by him, but Cole Rodriguez found his spot.
Jacob Sanchez now due up. Sanchez, the rare designated hitter tonight. Not at his normal position of first base, as that's a swing and a miss for strike 1. 89 miles an hour on that outside bottom corner.
And that's tough to do anything with when Cole Rodriguez can find and pinpoint the corner of the zone like he did there.
0-1 is inside once again, called for strike 2. Sanchez, so far this summer, batting .259 in 34 games, is 2 for 7 in this series, is technically a single and a homer away from the cycle in this series alone, with a double and triple already, as that one is low and away, a ball and 2 strikes.
And Sebastian Kuntz already calling for a new baseball there, as maybe that earlier sprinkling rain, and if it's continuing to pour down here, we wouldn't know because we're inside, but let's see if it plays a factor.
Sprinkling is at least still ongoing for now. We do see some sunlight, though, peeking out down the left field line, so that is always a good sign. The 1-2 inside nearly hits Sanchez, and it did. Sanchez is hit here by Cole Rodriguez and takes 5 batters, but the Generals finally have their first runner on base.
And that's a very impressive take there by Sanchez. Kuntz arguing that maybe Sanchez leaned into it there as he had a word for the home plate umpire, but nonetheless, it looked like it deflected a little bit, so Sanchez will take first base.
So Diego Diaz, the UTSA Roadrunner, will now get a chance to bat here. Diaz in 15 games, batting .208 for 10 for 48 this summer. 3 for 7 in this series, and is 5 for his last 13. With 3 walks and 2 stolen bases in the first 2 games. And Bryan College Station, as that one is just below the knees for ball 1.
Good frame attempt there from Kuntz, but that one just sneaks its way below the zone and will have a 1-0 count.
Diaz, a member of the American Athletic All-Freshman team out of UTSA, one of the more populous schools in the TCL across the board. 1-0 is on the outside half. To earn that honor, Diaz went .274 in 28 games and a .367 on-base percentage, including a 4-for-4 night back on March 2nd against the Lopes of Grand Canyon.
Was that one in Phoenix?
No, it was not. It was in San Antonio. The 2-0. Inside, 3 balls and no strikes, and now Rodriguez lost track of the zone with the fastball.
And Rodriguez definitely wants to find it here on 3-0. You don't want to put 2 guys on base, especially with only 1 out.
3-0 pitch is inside, ball 4. Hit by pitch and walk. 2 free passes in this inning, back-to-back allowed by Rodriguez. And now an opportunity for the dangerous Mark Henning, who has gone yard in this ballpark this summer, but now has kind of necessarily been the great 1B for Jacob Sanchez over in that first base hole for Victoria.
And I believe it was a grand slam for Mark Henning last time.
Right, you were
we
here.
were here, yeah.
You were here, yes.
For that. So Cole Rodriguez has got to be careful not to miss one over the heart of the plate.
I should have remembered that you were here for that game. I don't know why that didn't cross my mind, as Henning has Sanchez sitting at second, Diaz at first. Only 1 out on the board, as that one is at the knees for strike 1 to Henning, the fellow UTSA Roadrunner, the Houston native. 22 games, batting .224 for Henning. This is his first time playing in this series. A notable series against Seguin in the 4-game sweep last week. So that one's fouled back, and it's no balls and 2 strikes.
Double play ball in order, as you see, or you saw originally LeClaire and DeYoung in that middle infield kind of playing in that double play depth, and it looks like that's where they'll be stationed now.
No shifts certainly on Henning. We've seen shifts against him from other sides so far this summer, and the 23rd pitch here from Rodriguez is just outside on appear to be a slider that trying to hit the back door. 8-hole hitter Hal Perez currently sits on deck as we near the bottom of the order for Michael Oros' squad. Great crowd on hand once again, even bearing all of the weather and the elements. For this rivalry matchup, the 1-2 at the knees, called strike 3. Second strikeout of the inning, both of which looking for Rodriguez, and he's an out away from getting out of the jam.
And that's what Cole Rodriguez wants to do on his strikeouts. He has a lot more looking strikeouts than swinging, although he gets his fair share of those as well, but that just proves how well he is able to paint any corner of that strike zone.
It's now the local product, Tal Perez out of Camagüey, Puerto Rico. The UH Victoria Jaguar, who calls this very ballpark home, will now step in. His first pitch he sees is outside for ball 1 in 32 games. Batting .221 is Perez. It's been more of a pinch hitting role in the last couple weeks. Hasn't gotten a whole lot of starts with the now 3-catcher rotation that Michael Oros has with Evan Eslaxon and Dylan Flores. So that one's on the outside corner, called strike 1. Flores, though, 10 of his 11 RBIs have come in the second half alone. Certainly an opportunity to extend that number. If he can come through here, slightly open hole in that right side of the infield. Runners go on the 1-1, double steal, and there will be no throw. Double steal from Jacob Sanchez and Diego Diaz. For Sanchez, his 6th stolen base of the summer. For Diaz, he crosses double digits.
And that's something that I've noticed a trend of, is that the Generals have caught up to the Bombers, who originally had a big gap in the stolen base category. Last night I checked, it was down to 9 at the beginning of the ball game.
2 runners now in scoring position. Still no score here in the bottom of the second. And now the Generals have a runner 90 feet away. 2-1. Just below the knees, 3 balls and 1 strike. 9-hole hitter Mario Mendoza Jr. sits on deck. And the Corpus Christi Islander, even though sitting at the 9-hole and having a struggling summer, maybe not the right person you want to be facing right now if Hal Perez can reach base. 3-1. Just at the knees, called strike 2, 79-mile-an-hour curveball that catches that bottom half, and the payoff pitch awaits. Generals looking to come through and take the lead for a 3rd consecutive game in this series. And it's low ball 4. Into the fake dirt, Perez will walk. All 3 runners in this inning have reached on a free pass from Rodriguez. No pitching mound meeting at least coming up here, but the dangerous Mendoza Jr. will now step in a bases loaded 2-out situation.
For Cole Rodriguez, he needs to lock in with the catcher Sebastian Kuntz and just focus on the guy at the plate. That's what Kuntz was displaying as he allowed Victoria with the double steal. Don't worry about the base runners. With 2 outs, just get the guy at the plate.
Mendoza, the Pflugerville, Texas native, He's 2 for 37, batting 237 this summer in 18 games. Is a high-flying ball to left. Going after it is Saleh. He's still going back, but he's near the corner, and he'll make the catch just a step ahead of the warning track. Nearly grand slam territory for Mendoza, but he just falls short, and just like the top half of this inning, Cole Rodriguez escapes another jam, leaving the go-ahead run 90 feet away, stranding the bases loaded. We go to the third here on TCL TV. Still no score. Did you know? Presented by Warnerburger, UT Tyler infielder Drew Schmidt had a quality true freshman season with the Patriots this spring, and alongside Generals teammates Connor Clark and Julio Garcia, the Louisville, Texas native came to summer ball with a chance to improve on both sides of the ball. Schmidt now in the midst of his hottest offensive burst since joining Victoria in early July. Brendan.
New pitcher on the mound, as you mentioned. A bullpen game starts here in the third. Cole Brady is done. He goes 2 innings, allows no hits, no runs, walks 2, and strikes out to Trent Nickerson, now on the mound for Victoria. And for more on his numbers, Max Cepeda.
Yes, Nickerson, the left-handed 6'4" arm out of Stephen F. Austin, which is now becoming a more filled-in program amongst this Victoria Generals roster. Nickerson, the Elgin native and Sumner, Texas native, coming off of a consistent outing the last time he was out. Nickerson appearing during the Seguin series, where he pinched 4 2/3 of relief baseball in the Friday 17-6 victory. Gave up 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts through 60 pitches in that outing. So certainly an applicable amount of time of rest for Nickerson, but now going against probably a difficult more lineup per se. No offense, obviously, to the Seguin River Monsters currently in their current constructed state as of now.
8-9-1 due up for the Bombers. Harrison Griffith, Cole LeClaire, then back up to Brock DeYoung. Griffith playing on the other side of that infield. He's usually been a mainstay at third, but is over at first tonight, as he'll face Nickerson right off the bat. First offering just sailed on Trent there a little bit. It's to the backstop, 1-0.
And as we mentioned, Griffith been a stalwart for this Bombers order for much of the summer, but leading the league when it comes to infielders with committed errors, 14 on the summer for Griffith, even with the offensive production and the amount of games he has played for both Brian Nelson and now for Mark Whitehead, and it looks like he's been hit.
And that's what Harrison Griffith can do, take the free base the hard way, as that one hit him, and it will be a leadoff base runner for the 3rd consecutive inning here for the Bombers, and now Cole LeClaire will look to do something.
87-mile-an-hour slider that appears, at least that came in and just kind of brushed the pant leg of Griffith, and now an opportunity for LeClaire, who obviously another newcomer for this Bombers roster in recent weeks.
That one missed just upstairs. Cole LeClaire, a native of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, recently played, or last year, for St. John's University up in upstate New York. Now has transferred to Paris Junior College. Takes the 1-0 just below the zone. 2-0 the count now.
Is there Big East baseball?
There is. There's only about 5 teams, though.
And St. John's, I would assume, is a part of that group.
St. John's is. 2-0 from Trent is in there for a strike. Breaking ball, 2-1.
82 miles an hour on that inside half from Nickerson. That's certainly what he brings. He's kind of similar in ways to Cole Rodriguez. Doesn't bring a whole lot of velocity, but if he can paint the corners, he is reliable.
2-1 is sent on the line to Mendoza at second, over to Avalos at second for one, back to first, double play, and that is a big 1-2 punch out of the pen for Trent Nickerson, a 4-6-3 double play.
And that's what this Generals infield can do for you. You've seen it all summer if you've been watching us here at Victoria. Mario Mendoza Jr., who had 4 errors in just his first 2 weeks here in Victoria, now getting so much better, improving on his defensive game. He said it's his top priority coming here to Victoria and playing summer ball. He's the only A&M Corpus Christi Islander, one of the few in this league now, as the lineup flips over, but certainly a great sign of that defense continuing to improve.
Brock DeYoung watches the first one in there on the outside part of the plate for a strike. Trent Nickerson's pitch is a curveball grounded to Mendoza at second. He'll whip across to Henning at first, and that will end the inning. Bombers cannot get a base runner past first base. They will go to the bottom of the third. Still 0-0 on TCL TV.
At Riverside Stadium, the banks of the Guadalupe River. The sun is starting to come out. The rain starting to depart here. Still a few sprinkles here and there with the mostly cloudy skies. You see obviously the postseason bracket as finalized on your screen. And we head to the bottom of the third inning, and obviously we don't want to institute any broadcaster jinx, but so far through 2.5 innings of play, 4 runners left on base, no hits.
And it has been a very, very interesting pitcher's duel here through the first 2.5, as you said.
As Cole Rodriguez, who is back on the mound, will throw a called strike as it was a full swing there on the part of Anthony Avalos, who comes back to the dish. It is 0 for 1 tonight with a pop out to second base. Rodriguez on the right side of the rubber is 0-1, his way upstairs. 89 miles an hour just above the chest, ball and a strike. Current scoring update across the league. The Baton Rouge Rougarou and Lake Charles Gumbo Gators square at 1 in the top of the fourth inning. Rougarou playing their final 2 games of 2024. Excuse me, of 2024 this week, as that one's outside. 2 balls and a strike.
And that one kind of not really significant, maybe for Lake Charles just to get a little momentum going as they will enter the TCL playoffs on Tuesday.
2-1 is a high fly ball to right. Going after it is Daig. He sits out in straightaway right and makes the catch in foul territory with the sun in his eyes. And is able to collect the first out of this third inning. Impressive play there by Daig.
And that's Jackson Daig showing off the wheels, ranging into foul ground, unfazed by the sun, which is just creeping out as he makes the play for out number 1 as Connor Clark steps in.
Just past the 8 o'clock hour here in the Central Time Zone, here in the Crossroads, as it will be the first pitch thrown to Connor Clark, who had a 1-pitch at-bat last time around. Will foul this one into the Bombers bullpen down the right field line for strike 1. Clark, he mentioned the hot start that he has had this summer, and he certainly has exemplified it. The Sherman native and the UT Tyler Male Athlete of the Year in 16 games. Yes, batting only .217, but coming off of the 6-for-14 series last week against Seguin. The only 1-for-7, though, against Bombers pitching this week. Rodriguez sent at the bell on that right side of the rubber. 0-1. Low and just below the zone. 88 miles an hour on the fastball, 1-1.
No sign of motion in the Bomber bullpen right now, so the third inning is Coles out there on the bump.
Another lefty currently throwing it in the Generals pen as that one gets away. 2 balls and a strike. And obviously tonight and tomorrow, opportunity for both Baton Rouge and Seguin. Seguin playing in front of their home fans against the King Cutters. Seguin only wins 1 game over the next 2 nights, and Brazos Valley will have the second best record in the TCL. So that one is just upstairs. 3 balls and a strike now to Clark.
And if you're Cole Rodriguez, you want to try and reclaim the zone, maybe with a fastball, try and paint that lower corner at the knees, get full.
3-1. High fly ball to left center. Going after it is Sela and Tomlin. They're both going back, still going back near the left center wall, and Tomlin makes the catch, second time tonight. For the Generals offense, first Mario Mendoza and now Connor Clark just falling short of the wall. Both guys who have yet to send home runs over the wall, both doing so in opposite ways. If Clark is able to pull that one over to more straightaway left field, that ball is probably gone.
Yeah, any ballpark you look at it at any level, it's tough to hit one out in left center field, nearly straightaway center field. Is at the Bombers ballpark, Edible Field in Bryan. That's pretty much a graveyard out there, they call it.
Certainly is, of course, with the wide left center gap. Certainly a hitter-friendly ballpark here in Victoria, as that one is just below the zone to Cameron Nickens. 4-1. Nickens, who is 0 for 1 with a line out to left on the great play by Cam Sela in left field. 42nd pitch for Rodriguez is just outside again. 2 balls and no strikes. And will be fairly interesting to see as another arm continues to warm here for Victoria. It looks to be Ryan Dugas as of right now. How much of the bullpen do you want to use on this Saturday in a game that doesn't necessarily matter for your squad as it's 3-0? Do you want to get at least everyone at least reps and have them at least warm and ready in competition against this offense before the postseason begins?
I think that's the strategy Michael Oros wants, especially with the playoffs looming.
3-0 is lined into left field for a base hit. And finally, nearly an hour plus into this one, Cameron Nickens finally gets the first base knock of the night. Here in the bottom of the third with 2 outs.
Good piece of hitting there, just putting that one on a line out to left field in front of Sala, and Cameron Nickens has our first base hit of the night here in the bottom of the third.
Nickens, his 42nd hit of the summer. He continues to climb that leaderboard, which he was tied for 5th in coming into tonight, so he's probably in sole 5th place now in the category after that knock. And now Drew Schmidt, the red-hot Drew Schmidt, who's 0 for 1 with a cold strike 3. Now going to face Rodriguez for a second time, and he hits this one deep to right. Dig is there. He waits for it. He's now in foul territory, and he makes another catch in foul territory to end the inning. So the first knock is on the board off the bat of Cameron Nickens, but he's left on the fly ball by Schmidt. We are through 3 very, very quickly. We head to the 4th. Still no score between the Bombers and Generals on TCL TV.
Back here, top of inning number 4, Bombers and Generals still scoreless as you get a look on TCL TV at the current overall standings in the Texas Collegiate League. The Victoria Generals running away with things at 33-12. The Bombers, the only other team in the league with a record above 500 at 23-19. Trent Nickerson is still on the mound. It will be Russell, Tomlin, and Kuntz to face him. A very efficient third inning for Trent. He only threw 8 pitches.
You know, and if Trent wants to necessarily stay in this game, we mentioned that Ryan Dugas was warming in the Generals' pen. He looks like he's at least going back in there for now to maybe keep stretching. Will be interesting to see how he does in this second way through the order. Russell, Tomlin, and Kuntz. As we mentioned, 2 of those 3 guys very unfamiliar to this General staff. All these guys really facing each other for the first time.
First offering is just below the knees, a breaking ball. It's 1-0 on Tristan Russell, the third baseman, who struck out in his first go-around. That one obviously against Cole Brady, the starter. 1-0, hops in off the artificial turf. 2 balls, no strikes.
So with the playoff schedule and how it works, and you'll obviously see it on our upcoming General schedule graphic later tonight, Game 1 of the best of 3 series.
That one's fired in there for a strike on the outer third. 2-1 the count.
Will be in Bryan College Station at Edible Field, as that will be Game 1. We already have the pitching matchup for that Game 1. It will be Ben Polish-Schultz versus one of the best single-season pitchers we have seen in TCL history, and Bryson Walker, the former Victoria General, is now 3-1. And considering how both of those guys have had both great month of Julys, considering that the matchup that everyone's going to be watching is the best offense in the league versus the #1 pitcher in the league, that's going to drive in all of the, if we want to call it ratings, if you will, that would drive in ratings for sure.
3-1 is below the zone. Tristan Russell draws a 5-pitch walk to get things going here in the top of the 4th. Runner at first. That brings up Taylor Tomlin. Taylor Tomlin popped out to Hal Perez back in the first against Cole Brady. And it will be interesting to see who Victoria brings out in game number 2 of that series. It will most likely, if the rotation, the schedule holds up, will be Mickey Sheets for the Bombers, as the first offering is a fastball on the outer third, framed up by Perez. Doesn't get the call. It's 1-0.
Yeah, there's certainly a whole lot of options if you're Michael Ouros. You could obviously go with Braylon Owens, last year's TCL Pitcher of the Year, but he's only had 2 inning outings in each of his first 2 outings. He's a brand new signing. He just came in to finish out the summer. Or you could go with Hayden Trotson, probably one of the more consistent starters in this league. An ERA coming in so far under 3 certainly would be a quality outing, as Trotson has had multiple blowout victories at his benefit with his offense supporting him. And now it looks like they're going to have a quick mound discussion to get a bases umpire trying to get a more clear view, it looks like, of the rubber, just to check in on Nickerson, as it still remains a 1-0 count here for Tomlin.
Pickoff attempt earlier back on Russell. Tristan makes it back in safely. 1-0 home is chopped on the ground to Avalos at short. Turns to second for 1. Over to first, a hopper. Not in time to get Tomlin. They do get 1 on the fielder's choice and get the lead runner, in fact. Taylor Tomlin aboard at first, 1 away.
Yeah, bold choice by Anthony Avalos to go for the fielder's choice instead of the routine play at first, but considering that Avalos and Mendoza have now gotten more reps in that third and second base positioning, it looks like now that that's going to be a more comfortable situation when it is that stereotypical nobody out, 1 out, just at least get the lead runner off base.
So now Sebastian Kuntz, the catcher, steps back in. Walked his first go-around. First pitch is a fastball up and out. 1-0 the count. Trent Nickerson at 16 pitches so far, through an inning and a third of work. 1 pitch can get him through the 4th. Runner off and moving as Tomlin pitches in there for a strike. Throw down is not in time. And that one to the displeasement of Mario Mendoza. But nonetheless, it is the first official stolen base of the night for Brazos Valley.
Yeah, and a big one here for Tomlin, who is technically replacing Russell at first base. No argument coming from the Victoria dugout, and probably not necessary, as it looked like to probably be a bang-bang play. And obviously great throw once again there by Perez, but Brazos Valley come through. Wide open hole in that right side of the infield.
1-1 to Kuntz is a breaking ball that misses up and away again. It's 2 balls, 1 strike. Standing on deck again, Jackson Daig, the right fielder, and then Cam Sala, the left fielder, in the hole for this Bombers order. 2-1. Upstairs just missed. Hal Perez doing his best job to frame them up, and he's put them in close positions, but it's 3-1.
Wouldn't be surprised here if we have possibly a runner sitting 90 feet away. Maybe you put in Ryan Dugas if you're Michael Oros in this situation.
And Kuntz draws a 5-pitch walk, so now multiple runners on. It's first and second for the Bombers as Kuntz has drawn 2 walks here in his first 2 plate appearances. And it looks like no action out to the mound, so Trent Nickerson will continue.
And Michael Oros is really, for the most part this summer, Brendan, has been very conservative when it comes to managing his bullpen. He has had so many, and we haven't even mentioned yet the incredible play that has happened in this ballpark for this ball club.
First offering to Jackson Daig is a pitch in there on the outer third for a strike.
The Generals are 19-3 this summer in this ballpark, which is already, if they win tonight, will be the first 20-win season here at Riverside Stadium in franchise history. And their run differential in this ballpark, they have scored 181 runs to allowing 88.
As Daig lays down a bunt beautifully down the third base line, and that will load the bases, as even if it was fielded, it's a tough play to beat Jackson Daig. So a big spot here as Cam Sala stands in with the bases juiced.
There's only 1 out on the board, and Dugas at least taking his time right now, at least warming up in that General's pen. Nickerson has had these kind of situations before because, as we mentioned, he's not necessarily a velocity pitcher. But for Cam Sala to be put in this pressure position.
As the first one misses upstairs, 1-0 to Cam.
Be fairly interesting to see how they take advantage. And now Michael Oros will talk here with Nickens. We'll see if Trent probably will advocate for him staying in this one and saying that he can rely on him to get at least a ground ball. But if the Generals maybe had a 1-1 lead, maybe even a 1-0 lead, maybe you're more lenient to keep him into this game. Hey, you only allow the tying run. But because it's 0-0, probably Oros is probably a little bit more temperate, saying, hey, if you don't at least get through this batter, or if it's like a pop out or if it's a ground out where the bases still remain loaded, we may have to take you out regardless.
So it's an interesting spot here. Cam Sala obviously just had his first at-bat as a Bomber in the second. He flew out to the left fielder, Diego Diaz. It'll be interesting to see how they approach him. Obviously, you have the force at any base, so any ball may be coming home to Hal Perez, depending on where it's played.
You certainly can't use the bunt playbook necessarily that Daig used if you're Sala, as that obviously would force the runner then to come home, and then that's a routine throw to home plate. So fairly interesting to see how Sala approaches this, but reminder, like you mentioned, this is a pitcher who's batting for the first time, and this defense doesn't necessarily know how to play to him.
Nickerson ready on the mound. First offering to Sala is a fastball inside part of the plate, strike, 1-1.
And if you're Nickerson, you got to have your breaking balls hit, especially against a guy who is probably maybe going to swing and miss in the dirt. You have to at least be conservative with your breaking balls, but kind of use it as your primary pitch because those fastballs are probably what he's searching for.
Deep breath on the mound, 1-1 is spiked just a couple feet short. Sala puts the stop sign up for Tomlin at third, 2-1 the count.
But as I was mentioning earlier, going back to the home run differential, a plus 93 home run differential in this ballpark. And that goes back to the idea that Michael Oros, really conservative when it comes to pulling guys out, even relievers, because he's confident in his offense so much that in this ballpark with their fans, that something is eventually going to spark.
2-1 the count to Sala. That one swung on and popped foul down the first base line. Mark Henning has a play on it. He makes the catch. Tomlin does a little hezzy at third, but a big out number 2 for the Generals.
And a few Generals players in that dugout, it looks like they're waving at the bullpen right now to probably make a gesture. Dugas is not even in the bullpen. He's standing outside of it right now, both him and Dylan Flores, who's catching for him. But great opportunity now here, obviously, for Trey Walker. But as I mentioned, much a power-hitting guy, and if you're a breaking ball pitcher like Nickerson, you can take advantage of him.
Trey Walker will hit for the second time with runners in scoring position. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. That fastball finds its way in there. It's a strike, 0-1.
These two teams also leading the league when it comes to runners left on base across the league.
0-1 sent off the end of the bat to Mendoza at second. He'll fire over to Henning at first, and the Generals escape a bases-loaded jam. We head to the bottom of the fourth, zeros across the board, except in the hit column. It'll be 5, 6, 7 due up for Victoria.
Gather around this table, boys. Bring no shame, I lose my voice. Screaming at the gods about the bad we've done. Merle said, Mama tried, but the prison still won. Your transgressions are mine as well. Anger grows in my bones, and you could not tell. I'll find comfort and hope in you. Lord, forgive us, my boys and men. We're having an all-night revival. Some call the women and some will steal the Bible. For save my survival. Baptize me in a bottle of bean for Johnny on the vinyl. Baptize me in a bottle of bean for Johnny on the vinyl. We're having an all-night revival. Some call the women.
Back here along the banks of the Guadalupe River with some Zach Bryan as we head to the bottom of the fourth inning. Still no score between the Brazos Valley Bombers and your Victoria Generals. Max Cepeda alongside the voice of the Brazos Valley Bombers, Brendan Paul, making the trip 2.5 hours southwest. And really for both of these sides, as Cole Rodriguez comes now out for a fourth inning of work facing Sanchez, Diaz, and Henning, certainly is now an opportunity for, as we've seen time and time again here in this ballpark, this Generals offense to maybe have that finally stretch of runners at first and second, runners at the corners, nobody out, and finally get on that run.
And it will be a interesting part of the order here coming up. Jacob Sanchez, obviously a guy that has been an on-base machine this summer, but Diaz and Henning due up after.
First pitch to Sanchez is popped high down the third base line. Russell goes after it, but that will be into the stands just beyond the gallery, and it will be quickly a strike here for Sanchez. It was an 85-mile-an-hour slider inside that Sanchez got underneath.
Very fortunate to be able to have the radar gun set up with us here in the press
No, we
box.
do. We don't have anyone else in this press box, sadly. We usually have at least like 4 or 5 other people in here, but it is just us. But we are making it through as the 0-1's a screaming line drive to left. Going back on it is Sala, and he'll make the catch just in front of the warning track again. That at least, I wish we had exit velocity as something with a stat, because that's at least somewhere in the 95-100 range. But Sala, the man who pitched on the mound a night ago, able to get high velocity into his glove like that one away.
And that's what impresses me about these two-way players, especially guys that play in the outfield. You come from pitching a night ago, and as that one was screamed off the bat, Sala ranged it up rather quickly and was able to record the out.
Diego Diaz will now take his first pitch on the outside corner for strike one. Diaz walked in his last debut, was left at second base after stealing second base. Now both sides leaving the bases loaded in back-to-back half innings as we begin this bottom of the fourth with no one coming up with any runs as it's 1-1.
And that was pitch number 50 for Cole Rodriguez. You mentioned to me that John Anders is warming in the Bomber bullpen, so we'll see how much longer Cole has in this outing.
51st pitch is another high fly ball to left, and Sala again is heading towards it, and he makes another diving catch down the left field line. The umpire says that is an out, and for the second time tonight, Cam Sala proving his two-way prowess again on the defensive side. 2 quick outs. He's had a very busy night on this Saturday, I should say.
How about that from Cam Sala? That is a web gym worthy play, as he had one on Cameron Nickens back in the first, and now here in the fourth against Diego Diaz. He is staying busy, as you said, back-to-back putouts here in this bottom of the fourth.
2 balls that could have easily been extra base hits from Sanchez and Diaz, both robbed by Sala, as that one's low and outside. Ball 1 here to Mark Henning. And as you mentioned, obviously making his Bombers debut a night ago. Now in the lineup tonight and in left field, not a designated hitter like what we would see out of maybe Blake Selke or somebody else. He's being put out there in the field. And against this Generals offense, which has done so well when it comes to extra base hits, the most in the league, Sala able to keep up that defensive prowess as it's an even count 1-1.
And Blake Selke, another guy we talked about Tomlin committing to Oakland recently. Blake Selke will also be a Golden Grizzly.
Certainly a lot of those following the footsteps of Brian Nelson, as that one's lined into right for a base hit. So Henning able to be the second General to reach base tonight on the base knock, and that is once again a second straight inning with a 2-out single for your Generals.
And that's what you want if you're either side, really, a 2-out hit. If you get a lot of them, you can string some offense together, and that may be the difference in this ball game.
So runner on with 2 away here for Hal Perez, who walked back in the second inning and was the man who made it a bases-loaded situation for Mario Mendoza Jr., who now sits on deck. Pitch 55 for Rodriguez is upstairs for ball 1, 84 miles an hour from the fastball, velocity going down a little bit.
And that's probably due to they wanted to keep him around 60 pitches. He's at 55, obviously, because this is his technically 6th inning of this calendar week.
And technically, the velocity we're seeing from that fastball, that's something we would normally see maybe out of a freshman, sophomore out of high school. And now we're seeing it out of someone who's technically a senior in college. 1-0 from Rodriguez. Way outside, it's in the fake dirt, and Henning is cut between first and second, but there's no one at second base, so Henning will stroll down like he's Mr. Rogers, and it's every day in the neighborhood, so he'll just walk over to second base. No care, no worries, and that's technically a stolen base.
It is indeed, and it is number 3 on the night for the Generals, and probably the easiest one of the night.
One of the easier ones we've seen this summer for sure. 2-0 count here for Hal, with Henning sitting in scoring position. So that one's another high fly ball to left. Sala is there. He's going to have to range out for another play, and he drops the ball, and it's in fair territory. Perez at second base. He will score. More likely than not, that will be an RBI double for Hal Perez. His 11th RBI of the second half alone. And the Gens are on the board once again in front of the home faithful. It's 1-0.
And that was close to being a third highlight play from Cam Sala.
I think you would have fallen out of your chair if he made that play.
That would have been incredible, especially he would have had all 3 putouts in the inning, but it just squeaks out from underneath his glove, and Hal Perez has an all-important RBI to get this game scoring underway.
And it's an RBI double, no questions about it, because of just the difficulty of Sala. There's no way that's an error in any sense of the word, but just like that, Mark Whitehead getting a chance to talk with Rodriguez, and he's going to stick with him at least for now, as it appears at least right now, and you can at least double-check me on this here. I'm not sure if the Bombers brought any assistant coaches with them for this road trip.
Trey Moore, the pitching coach, did not make the trip. I'll tell you a funny story. In Acadiana, I was in the dugout for one game, and Mark Whitehead told me, if I get tossed, I'm giving you my pullover, and you're putting on some pants and going out and coaching third.
Wow.
So I almost made my TCL coaching debut.
That would have been something spectacular. So Hal Perez sits at second. It's a 1-0 Generals lead with 2 hits on a single and double back-to-back here in this inning, and Mario Mendoza Jr. with a chance to extend the lead. The first pitch he sees is outside for ball 1, 75-mile-an-hour slider away from Rodriguez.
And Rodriguez, a guy that isn't going to reach mid-90s all the time. He's going to sit in that high 90s to, or that high 80s to low 90s range on the fastball. The off-speed's going to come in. The slider is going to be usually in the high 70s, low 80s. So a guy that we've seen has opted to be more of a finesse pitcher here tonight.
Top of the order sits on deck in the form of Anthony Avalos, the TCL Player of the Year candidate. Rodriguez looking to shut the door here and only have 1 run across the board, as we have our first run finally come across the scoreboard here in the 4th. As that hits the outside corner for strike 1, 87.
And Cole Rodriguez still able to find those outside corners here, pitching into the fourth, which, if you remember back in the Seguin series, is more like the sixth for him.
Wind just softly blowing from right to left. Hasn't been much of a factor for the last about week and a half here in the Crossroads with all of the tropical rain that has been flowing here in the South Texas region. That is just going to be below the knees. 2 balls and a strike into the fake dirt. Of course, Victoria, as we mentioned, with a win will guarantee at least a 700 winning percentage or higher for the first time in franchise history. Before this season, their highest ever was 660, and that was last season. 2-1s upstairs, 3 balls and a strike. And the Riverside Stadium faithful, at least a lot of their money's worth here with how contentious this one has been, but how also fast it has gone. We mentioned we started the first pitch around 7:30 local time, following, of course, the auction for the pink uniforms the Generals are wearing tonight. The 3-1 is low. It's a 5-pitch walk allowed here by Rodriguez, and Mark Whitehead says enough is enough.
And that will probably be it for him. As you see, the pitch count is over 60. It's at 62. So he's probably done. He'll exit stage right, and most likely it'll be John Anders.
Quality outing for Rodriguez, you say?
I would say quality outing because Mark Whitehead was hoping that he could go 4. He goes 3 2/3, only allows a run, so pretty much what he expected out of him.
So Whitehead will take the ball from Rodriguez. More likely than not, Andrews will be the one to replace him. We'll tell you about his stats and numbers when we come back here on the other side. Limited bullpen tonight for Mark Whitehead. He's going to have to rely on innings the rest of the way. 1-0 Generals lead after the RBI double from Mark Henning. We'll tell you the new man on the other side. Stadium. Kid Cuddy taking us back here as new man on the mound here for the Brazos Valley Bombers after 3 2/3 from Cole Rodriguez. It is going to be the Wharton County Junior College Southpaw in John Anders. And with more information on here, here's Brendan.
John Anders has had a pretty good outing as a long reliever for the Bombers, making his 13th appearance. He has a 1-1 record with a 1.39 ERA, has 22 strikeouts to just 14 walks, and last time out, he went an inning in relief in a 4-0 win against Seguin, but he's proven that he can go a long way. You look back in the 9-1 loss here at Riverside on June 25th, he went 4 innings and was a guy that was just there to place, hold, and be damage control.
Anders has only allowed 1 earned run in the entire month of July, which has obviously led to that 1.39 ERA. As you mentioned, he's also one of the few relievers in this league who has been with their club since the beginning of the summer, and that's going to bring a whole lot of veteran presence to their bullpen come postseason time, which they'll certainly need for the Bombers facing this Generals order. And we head back to the top of the order in Anthony Avalos with 2 runners on, 6 RBIs in his last 6 games. Certainly an opportunity for the UH Cougar to once again come through as that one's inside for ball 182 upstairs here from Anders. Or Anders, I should say. Perez at second, Mendoza at first. Perez with the RBI double that has the Generals currently with their 1-0 lead. 1-0 is once again inside, but is called strike one at 88.
And John Anders, a guy that likes to mix things up. He's a crafty lefty that's going to stay in the 80s with most of his pitches, likes to pitch in a lot of off speed, especially a slider.
So the rubber here for Anders. 1-1, and Anders will look back at second base. And to at least clarify on Hal Perez does have 5 stolen bases technically this summer, so while he may not look on paper as someone who is a stolen base threat, he is at least got 5 this summer and also is in the top 10 in the league in walks with 24. As 1-1, he's fouled down the right field line, 82 off the bat. And an 82-mile-an-hour breaking ball away. It's now a ball and two. It's now a ball and 2 strikes.
Anders is looking for that inside jam slider here to try and get out of this inning. If you get out of it 1-0, you're still in this game.
Scoring update across the league remains 1-1 between Baton Rouge and Lake Charles in the top of the 6th now. 1-2. Runners go, and it's behind Avalos. And it could have been an opportunity for both runners to advance anyway, but they'll now advance not on the wild pitch, but on the hit by pitch. Anthony Avalos has now been hit for the 6th time in the last 9 games. His body continues to be batted up time and time again, and that's obviously not what you want to see from somebody who is so vital to this Generals offense, but it's another bases-loaded situation.
He's showing that he is a strong and iron man for this General side, as he's been here virtually the whole season, if not the entire season for Victoria.
He has indeed. He has been in the top 3 of the order from literally opening day on, as now Connor Clark has presented a massive situation to expand this lead here for Victoria. With the new southpaw on the mound, as that hits the letters for strike 1 to Clark, who is 0 for 2 on the night with a ground out and fly out. Avalos at first, Mendoza at second, Perez now 90 feet away. To Tyler Patriot. It's his 0-1, and it's just outside. Breaking ball registered at just 76.
And that's a beautiful curveball that Anders just wants to get a little more on that outside third. And that is a good freeze pitch.
1 run on 2 hits in this inning. Or Victoria looking for more. The 2-1. Or I should say the 1-1 is inside. It is now 2 balls and a strike. Was confused for a second there. It is now, in fact, 2 balls and a strike. Dangerous Cameron Nickens, though, does sit on deck.
I think they are saying it is 3-1 here.
Actually, it is 3-1. It is 3-1. Home plate umpire clarifying there. So now, a ball away from possibly a bases-loaded walk here for Clark. How aggressive is he? 3-1, he swings, but he goes just foul on the payoff. Pitch awaits.
Big pitch in this game. If you're Anders, you can get out of this inning with a punch out or a ground ball, fly ball, any way you can get it. You want to get out of this inning. Bombers will feel a lot better only being down a run.
Scorebug on your screen is entirely filled in red. Bases loaded. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Bottom of the 4th inning. Victoria now with a narrow 1-0 lead, looking to expand as they aspire for their 34th win overall and their 20th victory at home. Payoff. Swing and a miss, strike 3. John Anders makes it the 2nd consecutive inning where the Victoria Generals strand the bases loaded, but they do get on the board regardless. 1-0 Victoria. We head to the 5th. You're on TCL TV.
TCL TV to get a look at the upcoming schedule. And you might notice there's only one logo on the screen. It's for the Victoria Generals. They'll close out the regular season tomorrow at 7:05 against the Brazos Valley Bombers. And that will be the same foe they will meet in the playoffs Tuesday in Bryan College Station, Wednesday in Victoria, and if necessary for Game 3 Thursday at Riverside Stadium. We have a new pitcher on the mound for Victoria. It is Ryan Dugas, and for more on his numbers, here's Max.
Yeah, absolutely. The Rosenberg, Texas native. For Ryan Dugas, the Richmond, Texas native, I should say. The sophomore at 5'11", 175, currently at Murray State. 1-0, still a flat 0 ERA for Dugas. This is just his 5th appearance, mind you. He has allowed 2 runs. Those were unearned runs, but he's coming off of claiming a victory back on Monday of this week in a 4-2 victory against Lake Charles, throwing 2 innings, a hit, a walk, and a strikeout in just 8 batters faced. Has only faced 12 batters or less in all 4 of his outings.
So Dugas will look to keep the lead right where it is. He'll face Harrison Griffith as he delivers the first one. A fastball in there for a ball. It's 1-0.
Dugas, much more of a velocity arm. You should see that fastball cracking 90 miles an hour at least a few times early on.
1-0, swung on and missed. It'll trickle to the backstop. The final line for Trent Nickerson is 2 innings pitched. He allows 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts. Very productive 2 innings out of the pen.
Really productive start, really, for Generals pitching as a whole, with only 1 hit allowed on the board. And obviously the bases loaded situation on the 4th being really the only blimp so far to Generals pitching tonight.
That breaking ball missed upstairs. 2-1 the count now on Harrison Griffith as he'll look to flip over the lineup. Cole LeClaire in the 9 spot on deck. 2-1 inside, jammed foul. It'll trickle off the backstop, and we're even at 2.
Obviously, would certainly at least look in the history books tonight if Victoria is able to hold on to this one. In the league's history, what is the furthest gap between the top team in the league in the regular season and everybody else? Because I would imagine if this victory were to hold, as it's now 3 balls and 2 strikes, if this victory were to hold, and it would be now 9.5 games, certainly has potential to either be 8.5 or 10.5, possibly tomorrow, by the end of tomorrow. Will be interesting to see if those numbers maybe fall out in the General's favor.
Payoff pitch from Dugas is swung on and fouled back down the first base line over the grandstands. We'll do it again. As we mentioned, TCL playoffs round 1, Tuesday through potentially Thursday if it goes to a 3rd game, with a winner-take-all championship game on Saturday, with a site to be determined with the highest remaining overall record team. Payoff pitch is drilled into left field. On the horseback is Diego Diaz. He'll watch it sail all the way out of here. Harrison Griffith, a big fly over left field. It's a 1-1 tie here in Victoria.
Harrison Griffith proving that power once again. Had 1 home run this past season at Oakland, which is, of course, Brian Nelson's school now. Griffith heading back there for his senior season next year. Just his 3rd extra base hit of the summer, and just his 11th hit overall. And no better time, Ryan Dugas now allowing a home run in each of his last 2 outings.
So Harrison Griffith ties the ball game at 1. Cole LeClaire watches a breaking ball right down the middle for strike 1. Let's see how Dugas responds as LeClaire lines that one back up the middle into center field. It'll be a base knock. So 8-9 go homer single to open the 5th.
And that is kind of the disadvantage that Ryan Dugas brings. He has yet to really get an offer really from a major group of 5 program as of yet, which is his goal. But really, for the most part, he says the biggest struggle that he's had in his collegiate career, Dugas says, is the fact that while his velocity is certainly where it needs to be, the command when it comes to the fastball of not throwing over the middle of the plate, not necessarily allowing opportunities for right-handed hitters. And Harrison Griffith, just like we saw last week in Seguin with Ryder Hernandez, 2nd consecutive week where Dugas has once again just had a fastball, a gimme strike, just left it too far over the plate, even in a deep ballpark that may be hard to hit it out like Riverside Stadium.
1-0 the count on Brock DeYoung, the 2nd baseman, the leadoff man for this Bomber squad, 0 for 1 with a walk and a ground out. Pickoff attempt back to first, but back in safely is LeClaire, so we'll wait on the 1-0 once more. First home run for Harrison Griffith on the summer. It's the first homer for the Bombers since early July when Grant Watkins put one over the fence, as that one's grounded to Avalos at second, over to first. Not in time to turn two as the wheels of Brock DeYoung keep the double play out of order, but it is a fielder's choice to get the lead runner one away.
Great defensive play again on the part of Mendoza, keeping his foot on that second base bag. Thought it could have been a bang-bang play at first, but DeYoung, as you had mentioned earlier, has proven to be one of the more quality speed additions that Whitehead and this coaching staff has brought in for this postseason. So it'll be interesting to see if DeYoung is maybe that go-to leadoff guy really the rest of the way for Whitehead. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Drew Collins is expected to return for the playoffs, so that would be a potent 1-2 punch if they're both back, as Tristan Russell stands in and takes a fastball downstairs, 1-0.
And now with Dugas struggling the way that he is, wouldn't be surprised if he has to be possibly pulled out of this game earlier than expected. But if you're Michael Oros, you obviously want to use as much as your bullpen as you can over the next 2 days, but also make sure everyone's healthy and ready come Tuesday, just in case Ben Polischultz maybe has a bad outing for the first couple of innings and you need to dig out of a hole quickly and need a new guy.
Russell fouls that one down the first base line, count 1-1, and the same can be said on the Bombers side if Bryson Walker is off for some reason. He has been on pretty much every outing he's had this summer. 1-1, runner in motion, pitches inside, it gets away from Perez, and it's a stolen base for Brock DeYoung. He's in scoring position.
And that's what's going to make Tuesday so much fun, Brendan, is the fact that regardless of what outcome happens, it's going to be major headline news across this league. Is it going to be Bryson Walker having another great outing, facing the Generals for the first time all summer against his former club, or is the best offense in the league going to finally break the mold against the league's best pitcher that hasn't allowed more than one run in any start?
2-1 is fouled just atop the Generals' dugout.
Point
We're
is I'm
even at
excited.
2.
Point is I'm excited.
I am excited as well. It will be at Edible Field, 7:05 on Tuesday, July 30th.
Generals fans have done a great job of making the trip up there, 2.5 hours north. There were a few in the first 2 games of the series. Would not be surprised if many made the trip on Tuesday.
2-2 is a breaking ball outside. The count is run full, and standing on deck is the speedy Taylor Tomlin. We'll see if Russell can put this ball in play. 0 for 1 he is today. Payoff pitch. Russell gets that one on a line in between the 5-6, holds a base hit. They'll wave DeYoung around third. It's cut off. There will be no throw to the plate. Brock DeYoung scores on the RBI. It is now 2-1 Bombers on the 3rd consecutive RBI single from Tristan Russell.
And Russell and Griffith, 2 guys that I had mentioned in this pregame, who are guys who are struggling hitters this summer, guys who have had their rough and bumps on the defensive side as well. Certainly maybe a broadcaster jinx on my part, but they both come through here in this exact inning. And now Bombers slipping the script, 87-mile-an-hour fastball once again right down the middle of the plate.
So in stands Taylor Tomlin, 0 for 2 on the day. Runner off and moving as Russell pitches in there for a strike. Throw down is in time to get him. So a big response from Hal Perez as Russell is gunned down, 2 away here in the top of the 5th.
There was little to no doubt that that was going to be a gun down runner the moment that left the glove, that left the bare hand of Hal Perez. He has such a reliable arm when it comes to second base. He's nearly practiced it every single day at this ballpark. He gets to the ballpark early and practices those throws. And no surprise there, he's able to gun down the speedy Russell.
That one in there for a strike as well. So 0-2 the count on Tomlin, and for Dugas, a pitch away from getting out of this one. Tomlin stands in. Righty-lefty matchup. 0-2. That one hops in there. It'll be 1-2.
Obviously, the 3 losses that Victoria has had this summer in their own ballpark, 2 of which to Brazos Valley in the month of June, and then 1 to Lake Charles back on July 10th.
Another breaking ball down at the ankles. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs here already. 2 home for the Bombers in the top of the 5th. Dugas looking to end the frame. That one swung on and fouled back to the screen, or the netting, I should say. We'll do the 2-2 again.
That's another thing that's going to make the postseason series so fun, is that Brazos Valley has proven with some of the guys who have been here all summer that they can win in this ballpark. They've proven that on multiple occasions and certainly can make the Generals vulnerable, even with the fact that they do have the home field advantage for the series.
2-2. Downstairs, just missed. Good patience from Tomlin. That'll run the count full. Generals fans don't like it.
And another 87-mile-an-hour fastball from Dugas, and it's the same story. It's the fact that when he wants the fastball to be able to hit the corners, he's just missing just low, and when he's trying to get a purposeful strike and able to at least pound the zone and maybe get a ground ball, it ends up being some enraging play that expands the scoreboard for the other side.
Payoff pitch is sent on the ground. Avalos ranging to his left, makes the play, Henning off the bag, and Taylor Tomlin is able to leg it out. It'll be interesting to see how you score that. You could argue the throw was offline. It's a tough play from Avalos.
And off-foot throw, and Henning, who has been a proven great first baseman when it comes to the defensive side of things. Just a difficult play overall, and now all three, each of the last 5 hitters reaching base.
So inning not over yet. Pickoff attempt back to Tomlin at first. He's back in there. The 6th hitter of the inning will come to the plate. It's Sebastian Kuntz, the catcher, who has reached on walks both times. Another pickoff attempt back over at first. Tomlin slides back in this time. Jackson Daig waits on deck. Cam Sala in the hole. Kuntz looking to extend the inning, watches that one at the knees for a strike.
86 on that outside corner, and that is the upside if you're Ryan Dugas. That's the upside that you propose to every manager's office that you walk into, is the velocity that you bring at that young of an age.
Another pickoff attempt back over. Dugas is now hobbling a little bit, maybe just something on the cleats there, but Hal Perez will go and check.
It looks like he just got stuck in the mound. It looks like as he was trying to step off the mound and his left cleat maybe got stuck in the dirt, so he wasn't able to move and maybe just twisted his ankle around a little bit. So going to get some time and just talk with Hal Perez real quick. And obviously this is certainly not what you want to see. There's still nobody throwing, at least in the Victoria pen. Certainly just trying to get at least their 1 inning is Dugas. Victoria is going to have heart of the order, 3, 4, 5 due up in the bottom of the 5th, and Nick and Schmidt and Sanchez, which is probably the right third of the order that you'd want if you were head coach Michael Oros, but looks like Dugas thankfully is okay.
They've reached base, those 3, 4, 5 for Victoria, 2 of their 6 plate appearances. Nickens a single and Sanchez a hit by pitch. We'll see if Kuntz can keep his 2 for 2 on base streak alive here tonight. 0-1 is in there at the knees. Another good fastball from Dugas. It's 0-2.
Once again at 87, and if you're Dugas, you may want to obviously go to the breaking ball here. The breaking ball obviously resulted in the RBI single.
0-2, runner off and moving. Kuntz fouls that one back. Taylor Tomlin will have to retreat to first. We'll do it again. Both these squads have done a good job in the second half. Generals at 17-5, as we mentioned. Bombers at 13-7 after going 10-12 in the first half. Dugas checks. 0-2 home. Outer third, called strike 3. Kuntz didn't like it, but it's a strikeout for Ryan Dugas to end the inning, but not before Harrison Griffith homers and Tristan Russell drives in a run to give the Bombers a 2-1 lead on TCL TV.
emotions here at Riverside Stadium. Texas semifinal game 2 is coming Wednesday. Free ticket night here at Riverside, presented by our friends at Ineos. Of course, and if necessary, game 3 will take place if the two sides split the first 2 games of the series. There will be a game 3 here on August 1st prior to the TCL championship game, which, if Victoria advances, would be here at Riverside Stadium come August 3rd, exactly 1 week from today. We are back here at Riverside Stadium. Max Cepeda, the voice of your Victoria Generals, alongside the voice of the Brazos Valley Bombers, Brendan Paul. Another episode of the Cronkite Crossover here in the Crossroads. And it is going to be 3-4-5 due up, and Cameron Nickens, who was 1 for 2 with a single back in the third, to lead things off here against the first full inning of work for John Anders. His first pitch he throws is on the outside corner for ball 1 at 87 miles an hour. Fans staying persistent in what has been a great pitcher's duel, with the offense coming alive in each of the last 2 half innings, including the first road home run allowed by Victoria this summer. It's 2 balls, no strikes. Nickens 21 for 65 in the month of July, as that one's upstairs. 3 balls and no strikes, and 2 for 8 in this series. Is also carrying a 5-game hitting streak into this one, which he extended.
Yep, he'll keep it going.
3-0. Outside half, called for strike 1 again at 87.
Now let's see what Nickens does here. Auto take on 3-0. You got to imagine. Let's see what Anders opts to do on this 3-1.
Moving very quickly is Anders, and that one's inside for strike 2, remaining at 87 miles an hour. See if he maybe wants to go breaking ball here and try to throw off Nickens. He does not. He stays with fastball, and that's a fair ball. That's just to the left of the first base bag. Nickens will stay at first base. It is a leadoff base hit, and Nickens is 2 for 3 on the night with 2 singles. And Nickens just staying in front of it enough to keep it in fair territory and get it behind the first baseman, Griffith, runner on.
Opposite field there from Cameron Nickens, just extending it, walking a tightrope down that line in right field, and thought about going for 2, but you never want to underestimate the arm of Jackson Daig. He is an outfield assist this summer that continued a game into the 11th inning.
So leadoff base runner here for Nickens, and now Drew Schmidt, who is 0 for 2 tonight, with a called strike 3 and a fly out to right, where Jackson Daig made the catch. So first pitch here from Anders. He shows bunt, pulls back. It is ball 1 as Coons had to take a minute to go find the baseball. Ball no strikes as Anders is trying to get better grip here on the cleats, and it appears, at least from us on the viewing perspective, that the mound probably is a little bit soggy following the rain conditions in which the mound was being revealed off. And there was some rain, at least in the first and second innings, at least a sprinkle. So I was surprised the mound is probably not in the best condition as it has other nights. 1-0's upstairs, called for strike 1 at 77 on the slider.
I don't know about you guys, but we've been lucky in Bryan too. We were forecasted to get pummeled with rain all throughout Tuesday through Friday's games, and we avoided it.
It has been a wild month, a wild season in the TCL when it comes to Mother Nature. As the 1-1 is grounded over to the right side, there is Russell. He'll go to second for 1 for the force, and that's the only play he'll get. But similar to what we've seen from Victoria from a defensive approach tonight, Brazos Valley getting the lead runners off. And the first base runner will be replaced from Nickens to Schmidt with now 1 out on the board.
And that's a tough transition for Russell. Usually a mainstay in the middle infield, second base, shortstop. Had to get a little more mustard on that throw from third. Just gets enough. Gets the fielder's choice, and now Schmidt aboard, as you said at first.
Schmidt still for 3. Does reach base now with 1 away, and Jacob Sanchez, who is 0 for 1 with a hit by pitch back at his second, will now stand in. First pitch he sees is inside for ball 1. Going back to the Mother Nature discussion here in Victoria, we've seen not 1 but 2 tropical, obviously, events come here near the Crossroads. The first of which being, of course, Tropical Storm Alberto, which came in the late half of June, which thankfully didn't have any games postponed or affected because of it, but dropped nearly 5 inches of rainfall in the Crossroads region. And then, of course, just 2.5 weeks later, then came Hurricane Beryl, which was supposed to nearly have the dirty side hit Victoria, then hit Victoria dead on as a Category 2, and then instead came just a little bit up the road to Houston and knocked out power to 2.7 million people, as it is still back-to-back pickoff throws and remains a 1-0 count.
My host family in Navasota was included in that 2.7 million for about 36 hours.
I believe that is a lot of people, so I would not be surprised. I was also a part of it as well. Myself being the Houston native, the 1-0 is upstairs, 2 balls in, no strikes, but it's kind of been interesting. Obviously, all 6 teams with different amount of games played. Acadiana has yet to have a game canceled, so they will complete their 48-game schedule more likely than not. Baton Rouge and Brazos Valley, on the other hand, not as lucky, looking at 44-game schedules to the proposed 48, as that's a swing and a miss for strike one on the 78-mile-an-hour slider here from Anders.
And believe it or not, all 4 games Bombers were set to play in Baton Rouge this summer were the affected that were canceled. So there's the 4 missing for either side.
All of the Rougarous cancellations have come for home games at Pete Goldsby Field. 2-1. Outside corner called strike 2 at 76, and the slider looks to be a more potent weapon here for Anders now here in this 5th.
I'm not for sure, but I would have to say that's his favorite pitch, as he throws it an awful lot and has pretty good success with it.
Trying to get out the highly successful Sanchez. 2-2. Inside, no call, and now they're going to say Sanchez was hit on at least the hand. We unfortunately don't have instant replay in this league to officially rule on it, but it will be now 2 runners on here with only 1 out, and the tying run sitting in scoring position for the dangerous Diego Diaz.
Diego Diaz is a guy that at least I saw for the first time these past couple of days, and I was impressed with his stuff. He's played DH, he's played in the outfield, and he can definitely square the ball up if you make a mistake.
So Sanchez has now been hit twice tonight. It's the 3rd hit by pitch given up by Brazos Valley pitching. And Diego Diaz, who was 0 for 1 with a walk from back in the 2nd, will now step in. He lined out back in the 4th as well. Anders looking back at second base on that left center side of the rubber. First pitch, 76-mile-an-hour slider again, called strike 1.
Another good pitch that finds its way down the heart of the plate, and if you're Anders, you want to continue to use that slider to your advantage, work inside, outside, really confuse these Generals hitters.
Diaz, well-known member of his high school, Sherry Land, out in Mission, Texas, where he was not only team MVP and District Offensive Player of the Year in baseball. So that one's grounded into fair territory, is there to make the play as Anders. He'll go to first for the routine out and get the 2nd out of the inning, but now the tying and go-ahead runs now sent both in scoring position for Mark Henning, the 3rd time in the last 4 innings that with 2 outs, Victoria will have runners at 2nd and 3rd at least.
Good play there by Anders, not trying to get too flashy and go to 2nd to try and turn the double play. But as you mentioned, Victoria will now look to break through. They've left 7 runners on base in these last 3 innings, looking to avoid making it 9.
So productive sacrifice from Diaz, and now Henning, the fellow UTSA Roadrunner alongside Diaz, will look to come through here with the UT Tyler Patriot Drew Schmidt at 3rd, and the UTRGV Vaquero and Sanchez at 2nd base. First pitch. Another great fastball there at 87, called for strike 1. We'll see how much the pitch sequencing wants to change here. And now the lefty-lefty matchup. Wind now blowing a little bit stronger from right to left. This could be a disadvantage here for Henning, the left-handed hitter, if he wants to go for power here. Shift very wide open here on the infield. 0-1. Outside corner, called strike 2. Back-to-back fastballs. And a strike away from escaping the jam is Anders.
And now, if you're John Anders, 2 fastballs find the zone. You're set up perfectly for that outside slider to try and get Mark Henning to chase.
Henning 1 for 2 on the night with a single and run scored. Represents the only run scored of the night for Victoria. 0-2. Outside, thought about swinging was Henning, but he held back. It is a ball and 2 strikes. Henning coming into tonight with 16 walks to 11 strikeouts at the dish.
And that was that outside slider trying to get Henning to chase. Good job by Mark Henning to identify and hold back.
He's gotten much better with his plate discipline, has Henning. Going to come through here for the home side. 1-2. Outside again, fastball at 88 there from Anders. We are now even at 2-2. If Henning reaches base, Al Perez, who had the RBI double, sits on deck. Already 33 pitches here for Anders in this relief appearance.
And he's probably got a big leash of probably about 60 pitches like Cole Rodriguez had.
2-2 to Henning. Way outside. Great job on the part of Coons to stay in front of that one. Probably saved a run in that effort, and the payoff pitch awaits.
Big spot here, as we mentioned. Same thing in the top half. Now, here in the bottom half, full count, 2 outs, 2 in scoring position. And now you're pitching with a lead if you're Brazos Valley.
Third time in the last 4 innings, the Generals have had runners in scoring position, that being multiple. We'll have 7 runners on already. They lead the TCL in runners left on base. Payoff from Anders. Low and just below the zone, ball 4. And like the bottom of the third, the second and third 2-out situation becomes a bases loaded 2-out situation. And Al Perez, who has already contributed tonight, will get another chance.
Well, Coach Mark Whitehead talked about it on the Bombers side, looking to get some 2-out hits. Now it's the Generals who need to come through with 2 outs. They've left 7 on base. We talked about another inning in which they have the bases loaded. The 3rd time tonight they've had them loaded here in just 5 innings.
To contrast that, though, the RBI double did come with 2 outs already on the board. Well, it was a big knock for Perez to then give Victoria a 1-0 lead before Brazos Valley took back 2 in the top half of this 5th. First pitch from Anders. Great breaking ball for strike 1 at 76 at the bottom of the zone.
With the fastball in there in the mid to upper 80s and then the slider and breaking stuff going in the mid 70s, it's tough to catch up to that if you're not sitting on it.
See what Perez is looking for here. He got the RBI double on a fastball. 0-1. Outside in low, ball and a strike. Victoria took advantage of some RBI bases loaded situations. They've done so multiple times at home. They've done so even at Edible Field this season. So an opportunity here with Perez that, as we mentioned, with 24 walks, is in the top 10 in the league in the category. 1-1. Swing and a foul tip. It was in and out of the glove of Coons. Would have just been a foul ball if it was a 2-strike count. But now, again, the strike away sits Anders from escaping the jam.
He's already escaped 1 bases loaded jam. Let's see if he can do it again. Talk about putting yourself in some pressure out of the pen.
Perez is able to reach base, and the game is tied. Mario Mendoza Jr. sits on deck. Was already walked tonight. Center right side of the rubber. 1-2 from Anders. Way outside, and Coons again stays in front of that one. Coons proving his defensive legitimacy for Mark Whitehead, at least it seems, in the few games that he has played, looking to possibly become an involved contributor in the postseason.
And he is a guy that can contribute both at the dish and behind the backstop, and proving so here tonight.
Schmidt at third, Sanchez at second, Henning at first. 2-2 to Perez. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Anders gets out of the jam the second time tonight that a bases-loaded jam ends in a strikeout. And the 3rd inning in the last 4 where Victoria has left the bases loaded. This time it is in a trailing effort. They trail 2-1. We head top 6 when we come back here on TCL TV.
in Victoria, Texas, Riverside Stadium. As we look at the TCL standings overall, Victoria 33-12. The Bombers in second in that Texas division at 23-19. Acadiana will also clinch at 23-23. They are looking to become the third team this season to be above 500. Brendan Paul, the voice of the Bombers, doing the top half play-by-play, but Max Cepeda, your voice of the Victoria Generals, will be with doing the bottom half and the rest of the games here at Riverside Stadium. As it is Jackson Daig due up first for the Bombers, with Dugas still on the mound, a breaking ball downstairs, 1-0.
Well, we at least should have Generals fans prepared and Bombers fans, and by so prepared as well, with the fact that they're going to probably have to get used to a lot more of us over the next week, with the fact that, as we showed on that schedule graphic, there is nothing but this matchup, at least for the immediate future. And unlike, as most friendships would say, only one of us is only going to be able to make out of this, my friend.
That is true. 1-0 the count on Daig. That one on the outer third. A fastball in there. It's 1-1.
It is 5, 6, 7 due up here for Brazos Valley against Dugas, who is back out after giving up the 2 runs that put Brazos Valley in front. Of course, the solo home run from Harrison Griffith and the RBI single from Tristan Russell.
Swung on and missed by Daig. They added a ball in between pitches, so it is now even. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
But working at a much faster pace, though, is Dugas, trying to at least get back into some form of rhythm, especially with the fact that this will probably be his last inning of work, with every pitcher going at least 2 outings. And Dugas, with the animated character that he is, no surprise, frustrated as he walked off the mound, and now a payoff pitch awaits.
That was a close pitch indeed. As the count was run full, Cam Sala waits on deck. Trey Walker, the DH, is in the hole. Daig looking to reach again. Did it last time on a beautiful bunt. Payoff pitch is fouled back to the netting, and now we see a couple of bodies wearing pink retreat down to the Victoria pen.
Yeah, looks like Braylon Owens and Evan Laxon now heading out there. Owens, as we mentioned, last year's 2023 TCL Pitcher of the Year. Still a UTSA Roadrunner he is after a quality season in the American Athletic this past season. And Dugas exemplifying his frustrations once more as he allows a leadoff walk. This is the same relief pitcher, Brendan, who was ejected from a ball game back on Saturday in Baton Rouge last week for chirping at the home plate umpire. He wasn't even in the game. He was just in the dugout. But him and head coach Michael Oros were both ejected from that contest before the 3rd inning had even come across. So that just shows you the emotion that he brings.
Cam Sala now up with a runner on first and Daig. He takes the first one inside. 1 ball, no strikes on Sala, who's 0 for 2 with a fly out to left, a pop out to first, and a half handful of impressive plays out there in left field. 1-0 from Dugas, swung on and missed. Fastball in the outer third, 1-1.
And Dugas is those kinds of make it till you break it pitchers. We mentioned obviously the velocity that he brings, but with the command kind of being all over the place, the personality that he brings almost kind of exemplifies the pitch arsenal that he has in a way.
Pickoff attempt back to first as Daig is back in there safely. 2-1 ball game as we stand. Bombers lead in the top of the 6th against the Victoria Generals. Runner off and moving is Daig. Pitches upstairs for a ball. The throw down, not in time. Daig overslid the base, but retreats back in. It's a stolen bag, and he continues to be impressive on the base paths.
That's kind of been a similar issue that we've seen. 4 of the 6 fields in this league have artificial turf, at least on the infield, and we've seen a whole lot of situations across the league where stolen bases have been called outs because the runner stole almost too good that he flew right behind the base, and just because he had his hand off the bag just one time, the bases umpire, that's everything to be called an out.
3-1 now on Sala. In danger is Dugas, with Daig already in scoring position. 3-1 swung on and missed. Good pitch there from Ryan Dugas that runs the count full with Trey Walker, the DH, on deck.
And I'd probably lean to more fastballs, probably more down in the zone, probably at least more chances, for probably more balls in the dirt. Not saying that it's encouraged to throw the ball in the dirt, but when you're facing right-handed hitters as he's southpaw, no surprise you would want to try to hit at least that outside part of the plate and make him chase.
Payoff, swung on and missed. Another outside part of the plate pitch. First out of the inning on the swinging punch out. Trey Walker stands in trying to cash in his 3rd at bat today with runners in scoring position.
Speak of the devil there on the part of Dugas, he kind of just exactly has that same game plan. Go outside, go away, try to make the hitter chase on that right-handed side. And now he is the exact same situation here against a power hitter like Walker.
Walker trying to break through here. Daig off for third. Pitches high and outside. Throw down is in time. And a crucial caught stealing there as Hal Perez guns down his third Bomber base runner. He's 3 for 5 in that regard. And there's 2 away for the Generals.
That is the most caught stealing attempts by Hal Perez in a single game with 5. And now he's tied his season high with 3, 1 more, and he'll officially cross that season high.
Check that, he's 3 for 6 tonight as 1-0 is laid off by Walker outside. So Dugas looking to play that outer third. It's now 2 balls, no strikes on Walker with 2 away.
And Perez, now with what you're saying that it is 6, now he has crossed that threshold, the most caught stealing attempts in a single game this season.
2-0. Swung on and foul tipped off the end of the bat. 2-1 as Hal Perez makes the catch off of the deflection off the screen. Harrison Griffith stands on deck, and we know what he did back in the 5th with the solo home run that tied this ball game up. 2-1. Another identical swing and foul tip off the end of the bat. We're even 2-2.
Seems that mid-80s, high 80s fastball now here from Dugas. It looks like that fastball away, especially to right-handed hitters, is now becoming a weakness point. Can he at least hit it one more time and try to necessarily see if he can get through this inning? 9-1-2, Mendoza Jr., Avalos, and Clark due up on him 6.
Deuces wild once more. 2-2 home. Inside, called strike 3, and that will end the top of the 6th. We go to the bottom of the 6th. As Max mentioned, it's 9-1-2 for the Generals. Still 2-1 Brazos Valley here on TCL TV.
Of course, our Did You Know, presented by Whataburger, focusing tonight on UT Tyler infielder Drew Schmidt, who obviously is 7 for his last 14 coming into the night. Schmidt, though, 0 for 3 tonight with a fielder's choice grounded in which he reached base for the first time. We now head to the bottom of the 6th. Still a 2-1 ball game in favor of the Brazos Valley Bombers, trying to pull off their 3rd victory here at Riverside Stadium and give the Generals just their 4th loss of the summer in front of the home faithful. 9-1-2 due up here bottom 6 with Mario Mendoza Jr. leading things off. He shows bunt on the first pitch and fouls it back. 4 strike 1. Mendoza Jr. 0 for 1 with a walk back in the 4th.
I don't hate the approach there from Mario Mendoza. Try and get a guy on base here, especially it being the tying run here in the middle of this game.
42nd pitch of now a second full inning of work here where John Anders is on the outside corner. Ball and a strike. 73 miles an hour on the breaking ball away. 2 runs on 5 hits. No errors and 5 runners left on for Brazos Valley. Stats a swing and a miss for strike 2 for Victoria. 1 run on 4 hits, or 1 run on 5 hits, I should say. No errors, and have left 10 runners on base, including 3 of the last 4 being bases-loaded situations, as that is a swing and a miss for strike 3. Back-to-back punch-outs for Anders, and it's 1 away.
Big pitch there for John Anders to get a quick out, number 1. And now Jay Stoops makes his way to the bullpen. And you want to know who's left in the bullpen tonight? It's a pretty short list. Jay Stoops, Danny Dial, Blake Selke if he needs to, and Cam Sala.
That one's a high fly ball to left. And speaking of Sala, he will make the catch out there and left. So the man who's certainly in a bullpen discussion will, as you mentioned, make yet another defensive play out there in left field. And Avalos once again retired. He is 0 for 3 with a hit by pitch tonight, the leadoff man. And it is 2 quick outs here, bottom 6.
I feel like there's one I'm forgetting, but it's a very limited bullpen tonight.
I believe you said 15 was the number in total of players. I believe 14 or 15 is that one's on the outside corner. 4 strike 1 to Connor Clark, who is 0 for 3 tonight, uncharacteristically, for the UT Tyler Male Athlete of the Year in 2024 across all of the 19 Division II sports for the Patriots of the Lone Star Conference, as it is quickly 0-2. Anders looking for a 1-2-3 inning, and that will just fall just short, ball and 2 strikes.
And Anders is ready to roll. I mean, he's back up all ready to go.
Right-hander currently warming. It looks to be Braylon Owens warming right now in the Generals bullpen, as it is now an even count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. We mentioned Owens has started each of his first 2 appearances, and his return to Victoria has done fairly well in each of those 2 outings against both Seguin and Baton Rouge. But now looking to make his first relief appearance in the TCL since last June. When I mean last June, I mean the previous June in 2023. 2-2 is on the outside corner, called strike 3. 3 punch-outs in the last 4 face for John Anders. He has retired 5 of the last 6 Generals. We go to the 7th. Still a 2-1 pitcher's duel here at Riverside.
Top of the 7th, Bombers lead 2-1 here at Riverside Stadium, lovely Victoria, Texas. As you see on TCL TV, the 2024 TCL playoff bracket is set. These 2 sides will meet Tuesday through Thursday. Bombers host Game 1, Victoria 2, Game 2, and 3 if necessary. On the Louisiana side, the first half winning Gumbo Gators of Lake Charles will host Games 2 and 3, and the Cane Cutters, who won the second half, will host Game 1. We have a new
Texas Collegiate League Pitcher of the Year, who last summer went 5-0 with a 2.31 ERA and led the TCL in strikeouts with what was then 44, which was at that time pretty impressive. Now, obviously, on Bryson Walker standards. But Owens, this summer, 1-0 with a 4.5 ERA in his appearance, in his return 2 weeks ago in Seguin. Gave up a 2-run home run to Ryder Hernandez, but this past week on Tuesday in a start, gave up 2 innings, had just 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. So first relief outing, though, in quite some time for Owens. Let's see how he does.
And he'll face Harrison Griffith, who is 1 for 1 with a home run today. First offering is in there at the knees for a strike. And the final line for Ryan Dugas, he goes 2 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 1 walk, and 3 punch-outs. Owens set at the belt, fires home the 0-1. That one is half-hearted, fouled off into the party deck area. It's 0-2.
And to think for a Generals team that was at one point having a team ERA of around 5, now a team ERA sitting at 3.8 coming into tonight. To think you have the opportunity to have Braylon Owens not be in your starting rotation, but bring him in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning in a postseason game, I mean, that's just unheard of as he freezes Harrison Griffith for strike 3.
It's a called strike 3 on the outer third of the plate, so a 3-pitch punch-out right off the bat gets Harrison Griffith. 1 away in the top of the 7th. Cole LeClaire in now. He is 1 for 2 with a single and a double play. They put an error on the scoreboard and for the Generals, and I'm trying to remember where that came, as the first one's in there for a strike.
I find that quite confusing myself, but kind of going back to Owens, at least when it comes to his repertoire, much creative on the slider and curveball usage. Also has a nifty changeup as well, but the fastball normally will sit around 88, but has peaked at 90 at points also this summer.
That one misses downstairs. 1-1 the count now, as Owens looks to continue to work through this 7th inning. 1-1 is upstairs and outside. 2-1 the count now, as, well, they haven't reset the home pitch count. It says 78, but obviously that's not true, as Owens has only gone a third of an inning. 7th pitch for Owens is in there for a called strike 2. 2-2 the count now.
So the error is actually, and this is something that's also being ruled in point streak, the error on Victoria comes back from the 5th inning, and it was the error on Anthony Avalos on the caught stealing that ended up being out number 2, but that had Taylor Tomlin reaching base on what was what we thought a fielder's choice, but they are ruling in an error on Avalos.
Called strike 3 there, as Cole LeClaire didn't like it. It's back-to-back strikeouts looking for Braylon Owens out of the pen. 2 away, lineup flips over for Brock DeYoung.
That's a big out, strikeout number 2 here from Owens. He continues to paint that breaking ball so well, which he was so great at last summer, and I can say that especially with the appearances that he came into Edible Field last summer and what he brought to a Powers offense that last year was nearly at the top of the league like it is this year. So that one's fouled down the line here, as it appears to be, maybe I'm wrong about this, is that Cooper Smith, I believe, at the plate?
No, that is, I meant to mention that Brock DeYoung is wearing number 3.
Okay.
Cooper Smith is done for the season.
Gotcha.
As he is going home to recover before joining the Troy Trojans in the Sun Belt for his upcoming season. So DeYoung was wearing 19 in place of Darren Crane. D. Crane is back. He will wear 19 once more. DeYoung has settled into number 3, as the 0-1 from Owens is on the outer third. Called strike 2, and now Owens a strike away from going 1-2-3 all punchies here in the top of the 7th.
It's Braylon Owens is exactly what he brings to the table. We'll be interested to see if he unleashes another breaking ball here. Tries to make him chase.
0-2. Upstairs, appeal down to first. They say he did not go, but a challenge pitch there. It's 1-2.
And it's 89. Those are the pitches that, especially if you're a right-handed hitter in these righty-righty matchups, those are the ones that you really itch when it comes to at least chasing, trying to at least get a ball on the ground.
Owens set 1-2 home is outside. The counts run even. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Tristan Russell, who has currently the winning RBI, stands on deck. 2-2. Owens set with 2 outs. Breaking ball. He was walking off. Looked good from up here, but it's 3-2 as it's gone from 0-2 to 3-2, just like that.
I know we obviously have, varying perspectives with both of us covering both of these franchises, but that is a strike in every sense of the word in my book.
Full count now as the umpire gave the pitchfork salute to signal 3 in that left hand here. Payoff pitch That one downstairs, and Brock DeYoung displaying zen-like patience. He draws a walk and a 2-out base runner for Brazos Valley.
You don't think he was talking to us with that pitchfork salute? You don't think, right?
I just find it funny that we
I just
build
find
this the Cronkite crossover.
I just find it funny that he knows that we're here and he just does the pitchfork just casually.
And he did it right in front of us, too.
I know.
He's trying to represent, I guess.
Represent. But anyways, on the other hand note, but Brock DeYoung once again proving that he can reach on base, reaching base for a third time tonight on 4 plate appearances.
Tristan Russell steps in, tried to frame it. 1 ball, no strikes.
And that one hit 90 miles an hour. That just shows you the power that Owens brings. Southpaw currently throwing, though, in the General's pen.
With Stoops also active in the Bombers' bullpen, a righty to counter Anders, the southpaw, as Russell gets a hold of that one down the right field line. That one will drop for a base hit. DeYoung rounds second. He's headed for third. The throw in is not in time. It's late, and Russell on the confusion will take second base. So it's 2 runners in scoring position for the Bombers with 2 away.
That's going to be a single for Tristan Russell. He's only going to move to second, in my opinion, on the defensive fielder's choice by Nickens. But that was a bang-bang play at third base. And if you're Michael Oros or Xavier Moore, you have every right to argue that play. But it doesn't look like there's going to be any argument. And my goodness, we could have nearly had a strike 3 that could have ended the inning. But now, for the Bombers, you got 2 runners in scoring position to give you insurance.
Taylor Tomlin stands in 1 for 3. Had a single as well back in the 5th, so another single here could potentially score 2 and make this a 3-run game. But Braylon Owens wants to prevent that from happening.
Pendulum swings in this 7th.
First offering. That one's chopped weakly to Avalos at short. He picks it up on a couple of hops, fires over, picked by Henning, and that's a big out number 3 for Victoria. Bombers get a couple in scoring position, but can't bring him home. We'll stretch in Riverside. Be back with the bottom of the 7th on TCL TV.
Back here at Riverside Stadium, deep in the heart of Texas, once again being played over the speakers here on the banks of the Guadalupe River. You see the one logo on the upcoming general schedule. Tomorrow, the regular season finale, and also Host Family Appreciation Night, which is obviously a well-celebrated holiday in the TCL and at most summer leagues. And of course, the postseason series starting on Tuesday in Bryan College Station, as it will once again be 3-4-5, heart of the order, Nickens, Schmidt, and Sanchez to face Andres for now a second time tonight. As we head to the bottom of the 7th inning with your Victoria Generals trailing the Brazos Valley Bombers 2-1. Generals leading this 4-game series to end the regular series season 2-0, claiming the first 2 in this series on the road and now taking this series home trailing. As the 1-0 count is a loud swing and a miss for strike 1. Even count here 1-1 for Nickens, who is 2 for 3 on the night with 2 singles.
This is the guy you want up for Victoria to lead things off. Get that leadoff runner aboard and see if you can bring him home to tie this game.
Braylon Owens, the defending TCL pitcher of the year, stranding runners at second and third In the top half of this inning, as the 1-1's grounded over slowly to the third base side. Russell will have to gun it to first, and he does so in time. And the man who has had his ups and downs with his defensive play this summer, making a huge out number 1 here, bottom 7.
Tristan Russell, a guy that's only recently shifted over to that third base spot, makes a nice play ranging in and fires on a rope to get Nickens just by a step or two over there at first.
So now Drew Schmidt, who we've highlighted tonight in our Did You Know presented by Whataburger, someone who has been on a hot streak in the last 3 games, now having possibly his first cold step in this stretch, as he is currently now ahead in the count, ball and no strikes. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Reached base on a fielder's choice in the 5th and got all the way to third base, but could not score, as that one's on the outside corner, strike 1. 81 miles an hour on the breaking ball there from Anders. 1-1. Fouled back down the right field line to the parking lot, and he's behind 1-2 is Schmidt. Currently scoring update across the TCL. Currently right now in Lake Charles, the Gumbo Gators and Rugru are currently still tied at 3 in the bottom of the 8th, as that one's fouled back. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Obviously, we want to keep you informed, of course, TCL fans, even with the fact that the regular season games today and tomorrow obviously don't have little to any meaning, with obviously the significance just being that the Rugru and River Monsters are concluding their seasons following tomorrow night. 1-2 to Schmidt is grounded up the middle. Anders is going to try to make the play himself, and he's going to follow through with a throw over to first in time. And it is 2 ground outs as Anders continues to try to get the soggy mound dirt out of his cleats, with now 2 outs here, bottom 7.
And this is all you could have wanted and more for, if you're Mark Whitehead, for John Anders here. Comes in the 4th in a pressure situation. He leaves the bases loaded and is now working into the 7th.
Jacob Sanchez will ground this one over to the third base side. Will be a long distance throw by Russell, and he's able to get the pick in time. Great pick by Harrison Griffith, far on his right side to make the play. 3 ground outs on just 5 pitches allowed by John Anders here, bottom 7. We go to the 8th. Still a 2-1 lead for the visitors here on TCL TV.
Top of the 8th here, Riverside Stadium, Victoria, Texas. You see on TCL TV the upcoming promotions here at this beautiful ballpark of Riverside Stadium. Game 2 of the Texas Collegiate League Texas Division semifinal on Wednesday will be a free ticket night presented by NEOS. Is that correct? NEOS. My apologies.
All good. Look at you making the promotions for our ballpark. Look at that.
As we have a new pitcher in the game for Victoria. It is over for Braylon Owens. David Irons is in. Max Cepeda, what do you got on him?
Yeah, David Irons, the Iron Man, as he is called by his teammates. Someone who recently committed to join the Purple Men in Nacogdoches. And Stephen F. Austin from Galveston College, 0-0 with a 2.53 ERA and 10 appearances. Allowed just his 2nd run of the month of July. Just in his last outing against Baton Rouge, though, in 3 1/3 innings with 2 hits, 2 walks, and 4 punch-outs. This man has a flamethrower of an arm, to say the least.
Sebastian Kuntz will face him first. He pulled back a bunt. It was out high and outside. 1-0 the count now. It'll be 4-5-6. Kuntz, Daig, and Cam Sala due up as the Bombers look to provide some insurance.
Expect a similar pitching routine to Owens, but this time on the opposite side. High speedy fastball between the mid and high 80s, and then expect somewhere around that slider, mid to low 70s. That's a massive pitching speed gap, but that's what Irons brings as a southpaw.
1-1 the count as Kuntz swings and misses on that one. Another 1-1 outer third. Fastball called to strike. 1-2 now here to begin the top of the 8th as both teams down to their final 6 outs here in the regulation 9.
Irons well known for mixing up his pitch sequencing, trying to throw hitters off. That's his bread and butter.
1-2 just outside. A good block by Perez. 2-2 the count now.
4 hits for each side. The only error coming against Anthony Avalos back in the 5th. Well, we thought it was a fielder's choice play, but was ruled just as the 3rd error of the summer for the Ant-Man.
Breaking ball swung on and missed. A good pitch there from David Irons, mixing it up as you said. Kuntz swings and misses. 1 away, top of the 8th.
Now, as a fan of the Houston Astros, Brendan, that's what we like to call the Todd Frazier swing. When you get a fastball basically inside, very reminiscent of Justin Verlander in Game 6 of the ALCS in 2017, where it's so far inside, right-hander just has no hesitancy and then swings at a pitch where if you look back on the replay, it almost looks ridiculous.
The Todd father as Jackson Daig steps in. Breaking ball in there for a strike. 0-1.
I'll have to show you the clip after this swing, just to remind you just how awkward it is as a right-hander to get a fastball so far inside that you still swing at it.
Jackson Daig so far 1 for 2 tonight with a single, fly out, and walk. Lets that one go on the outer third. Irons kind of shrugging that he didn't get the call, but it's 1-1 nonetheless.
Generals don't really have anything but to blame but themselves with the fact they only have 1 run on the board. It hasn't really been umpiring's fault that they've been put in this position that they're in to, as I mentioned earlier, drop just their 4th game at home this summer, which obviously they can still get to that 20th win tomorrow, but so they would love to get an opportunity to maybe get to 21-3 if they can win both of these.
2-1 from Irons is inside. Daig does a nice job to back out of danger. 3 balls, 1 strike, and Cam Sala, the left fielder, stands on deck. And another pitchfork from our home plate umpire. So 3 balls and a strike. The count from David Irons. Here it is. That one just missed high at the letters. It's a 5-pitch walk for Jackson Daig. He's been patient tonight. He draws his 2nd walk. Runner on with 1 out.
A couple of Generals players are starting to chirp, and now home plate umpire is now, looks like they might be ejecting a fan possibly. Home plate umpire was looking straight into the first couple of rows here on this bleacher section, which, by the way, is filled with pink jerseys due to the strikeout cancer night, of course, with fans wearing past jerseys from previous years. And Vice President and General Manager Mike Yoakum is now a part of this discussion. He's trying to overhear, and head coach Michael Oros is probably a little bit interested as they're having a conversation. As you may not be able to see this on your screen, but they were having a discussion, and now it looks like, President Mike Yoakum just walked out a fan that was wearing a pink uniform reminiscent of past years of this tradition of the pink jersey and the strikeout cancer night that represents breast cancer here every single season. And obviously you can hear the boos, and that really speaks for itself. Just not only saying someone who obviously is just a fan here at Riverside Stadium enjoying the game, someone who's more likely than not dedicated to this franchise for years.
So add that to a list of things on my TCL bingo card that I did not have. A fan being ejected here in the top of the 8th as Cam Sala stands in and takes a fastball upstairs for a ball.
You also have to give credit, though, to home plate umpires to recognizing immediately who the fan is, because their back is to the audience.
1-0 is drilled down the right field line, going back on his horses. Nickens, it's over his head. It's down for a base hit. Jackson Daig with wheels is at third. He'll get the stop sign from Mark Whitehead. It's a 1-out double for Cam Sala. That is his first base hit as a Bomber.
And things might be starting to unravel here. This is a guy in David Irons who has only allowed 1 extra base hit this summer coming into tonight. And now he allows one here to a two-way player, let alone in Cam Sala, who has just had a spectacular night in every sense of the word on both sides of the ball. And now, yet again, another opportunity for Trey Walker to come through. He's kind of been on the wrong side of things for much of tonight. Can really come through here, and wouldn't be surprised. Looks like the infield's going to play in here on Walker.
Walker has been to the plate with runners in scoring position every appearance tonight as he swings and misses at an elevated fastball. It's 0-1 with one out. And again, Sala at second, Jackson Day at third. A very speedy guy, 90 feet away. Walker swings and fouls that one back, looking to put one in play. It's 0-2.
If you're Irons, I wouldn't be surprised. You may want to go back to the breaking ball possibly a couple times, but specifically with the fact that you're facing Walker and Griffith, two huge power-hitting right-handers, try to get them to chase. Don't necessarily try to power balls into the zone, rely on your defense, because you got already runners at second and third with one away. You want to possibly try to get the breaking ball down, try to get these hitter to chase. Walker's already chased balls multiple times already tonight, and so is Griffith. He's coming off a strikeout as well.
Infield, as you mentioned, in. Irons is set. Here's the 0-2. Walker off the end of the bat, fouls that one back to the backstop. We'll do the 0-2 once more.
And this is Riverside Stadium crowd, which has had little nobody leaving this ballpark tonight. I mean, they're ready to blow a gasket right now.
0-2 again. Swung on and missed. Good breaking ball on the drop third strike. Hal Perez will throw it down just to make sure. It is the second out of the inning, second strikeout for David Irons, 2 away.
And make that, and this will kind of surprise you, 3 consecutive innings with multiple strikeouts for Generals pitching with 3 different pitchers nonetheless.
Dugas, Owens, and Irons doing so. As here comes Harrison Griffith in a big spot. He would love to knock another one over that left field wall, doing so back in inning number 5 to tie this game at 1.
This is a big at-bat here for Victoria. You got Diaz, Henning, and Perez due up bottom 8.
First offering, check swing, doesn't matter. It's in there at the knees, strike 1.
85 right at the knees. That's what Irons is going to bring to you with that fastball. Wouldn't be surprised if he does so again. And then maybe tries to go with that slider away to make Griffith chase, which he's already done tonight.
2 outs, 2 on, no balls and a strike. Griffith lines that one down the left field line. It'll get down for a base hit. Jackson Daig will score. Cam Sala gets the turn. He will score as well. That one gets away. Griffith will retreat back. It's a 2 RBI single for Harrison Griffith. He's got a hat trick of ribbies tonight. 4-1, the Bombers lead.
And let alone these two insurance runs, Brendan, coming with 2 outs in a huge spot. And Griffith, who came into tonight maybe on paper as someone who has struggled for much of this summer, he is putting it on this Generals bullpen tonight, no doubt.
Cole LeClaire stands in and takes that one at the knees for a strike. 4-1 Bombers lead here, top 8. Runner on first is Griffith, who has been the man on a mission on offense as LeClaire swings and misses at that breaking ball 0-2.
Remember the Generals 19-3 at home. 181 runs scored to 88 runs allowed coming into tonight, a plus 93 run differential.
LeClaire fouls that one down the third base line, giving chase to Schmidt, but that one will find its way out of play. We'll do the 0-2 again.
But going back to the storylines that I've mentioned, especially here on these broadcasts, Brendan, over the last week or two, regardless of how great the Victoria Generals have been this regular season, the storyline year after year has been great regular season success with postseason shortcomings.
They'll look to improve upon the postseason here as the 0-2 is on the outer third, called strike 3, and that will end the inning, but not before Harrison Griffith adds 2 more RBIs to his line. The Bombers have some insurance. It's 4-1. We'll be back, bottom 8 on TCL TV.
you are exclusively watching Victoria Generals Baseball here on TCL TV. As we are back here for the bottom of the 8th inning. And yes, if you are a Victoria Generals fan, your eyes do not deceive you. The Victoria Generals, for the first time since July 10th, enter a bottom half of the 8th inning trailing here at Riverside Stadium as Diego Diaz will lead things off. It will be 6-7-8 due up here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Max Cepeda, the voice of the Victoria Generals, alongside the voice of the Brazos Valley Bombers, Brendan Paul, as we will be doing so over the next few nights to conclude the regular season and then, of course, throughout the TCL postseason, with these two facing in the Texas semifinals starting on Tuesday. As that one is just low and away for ball one. And yes, as I mentioned again, your eyes don't deceive you. John Anders remains in this ball game for Brazos Valley.
And this is going on potentially one of his longer starts of the summer here.
1-0. Outside corner check swing, strike one at 84 miles an hour on that fastball. Anders, to go back to his previous numbers, is on the verge of tying a similar outing that he had where he threw four innings of work in this ballpark back on June 25th. That's a high fly ball to left, and that is going to be a slip and fall on the part of Saleh, as that's going to be hitting his second base, thinking to possibly go to third, as Diaz slips just beyond second base, and he lies down at second base safely. It is going to be a leadoff double, more likely than not, as Saleh slip and fell in the natural grass and straightaway left, and the man who has made so many great defensive plays throughout much of the night finally bites the turf of Riverside.
Well, it looked like there was a little extra water there as Saleh slipped, but not only him, Diego Diaz on the infield, he made the turn around second. He fell down for a moment, but he was able to retreat back in, so a big leadoff there for Victoria.
It's almost as if Riverside Stadium became Smokey Joe Williams Field for a solid 2 seconds with the kind of field conditions they have at that natural grass field. Mark Henning now comes back to the dish. He is 2 for 3 with 2 singles and a run scored. And obviously now down 3, Victoria needs to put together base runners. They want to possibly get back into this game. Henning awaits the first pitch here from Anders. Here it comes. It's outside for ball one. And the bullpen, more likely than not, will once again to continue work here for Brazos Valley. If all case goes, in the worst case scenario comes here for Mark Whitehead, sitting nearly all alone by himself in that Brazos Valley dugout. 1-0. Outside corner, strike one at 87. Commanders, it is an even count, ball and a strike. Diego Diaz sitting at second base on a leadoff double after Cameron Saleh fell down in left field and couldn't even get a chance to make a play, biting the turf and straightaway left at Riverside. Anders continues to look back. The 1-1. Fouled right up the middle. That will not get through. Shortstop Leclerc with a long distance throw, and that is in time. Bombers defensive infield coming through huge on multiple occasions tonight, and they get a significant out, number one, but the runner in Diaz advances another 90 feet.
And Harrison Griffith just showing off why he is used to playing first base at the Division I level. He has picked a couple that some other players, maybe if this is a Seguin team in the field, they don't pick that one, or a Lake Charles team, but Harrison Griffith just snatching them all up at first.
Perez will now come back to the dish. Hal Perez, as he is 1 for 2 on the night with that RBI double that provided Victoria's only run. He is ahead in the count, ball and no strikes. Diego Diaz sitting 90 feet away, the bottom of the order, and Mario Mendoza Jr. sits on deck. 1-0. Just low below the zone, but that is at the knees. Cold strike one. And Riverside Stadium is starting to once again lose its temper.
You know, it's sometimes in the TCL you get some calls that could go either way, so Victoria crowd reacting.
Ball and a strike is fouled to the parking lot just above the grandstand. It is a ball and 2 strikes here to Hal Perez. Generals 19-3 in their home ballpark. Their only loss in the month of July here on July 10th against Lake Charles in a 4-2 loss. Their only 2 losses in the month of June to these very Brazos Valley Bombers here at home. 1-2 from Anders. Inside corner, called strike 3. Anders pumps his fist and pounds his chest as Perez slowly walks back to the dugout. And it's a massive out number 2, and Mark Whitehead's fired up as well.
And that's big because now Anders can focus on the batter at the plate, put the runner Diaz at third in the back of or not even in the back of your mind, out of the picture completely. If you get Mendoza at the plate, you can get out of this inning scoreless.
First pitch to Mario Mendoza Jr. hits the outside corner for strike 1. Mendoza 0 for 2 tonight, but did walk back in the 4th and was stranded at second base. Diego Diaz sitting 90 feet away, and the top of the order sitting on deck. 0-1. Swing and a miss, strike 2.
And now Anders only one pitch away from, believe it or not, going 4 1/3. We talked about him being a long reliever. That's the definition.
He's already tied his longest outing of the summer, can break it with one more out. 0-2. Inside, way far inside. Mendoza bounces back reasonably. It is a ball and 2 strikes.
Now if you're Mark Whitehead, you're not looking too short-staffed. You got a couple other guys in the bullpen for this last inning and a third.
10 runners left on for Victoria, 7 of which coming in scoring position. One, 2, and a late call there by Mendoza. Anders still threw the ball, but he threw it straight into the ground, and even that has the Riverside Stadium faithful upset.
You know, you don't want to waste a quality pitch there when you're not going to throw it, so good move to just spike it there.
I feel like that would also hurt your arm, I think, if you just threw it into the ground. This is just a waste of strength, I would believe. But it's a ball and 2 strikes still to Mendoza. Swing and a miss, strike 3! Back-to-back punch-outs for John Anders. He has now, in total, 7 punch-outs in his 4 1/3 innings of relief, his longest of the summer. We head to the 9th. Brazos Valley maintains their narrow 4-1 lead. We head to the 9th here on TCL TV. Stay with us.
Riverside Stadium, Bombers lead 4-1 over the Victoria Generals. You see on TCL TV another look at the TCL playoffs bracket. These two will meet Tuesday through Thursday in a best-of-3 series. Game 1 at Edible Field in Bryan, Texas. The last 2 games, Game 3 if necessary, obviously, right here at Riverside Stadium. On the Louisiana side, it's the Acadiana King Cutters and Lake Charles Gumbo Gators, as Game 1 will be at Faubacher Field in technically Youngsville, Louisiana, and Games 2 and 3 at the Joe, as they call it, in Lake Charles, Louisiana, home of McNeese State University. New pitcher in for Victoria is Zach Ryan, and for more information on him, here's Max.
It is Michael Oros' catcher, Zach Ryan, the Houston Christian Husky and Alvin, Texas native, who has had 4 consecutive scoreless outings, 1-1 with a 1.86 ERA. Some would say behind Carson Laws as the next best closer in this league. 14 appearances, 3 saves, 19 in the 3rd innings pitched, 10 hits, 7 walks, 21 punch-outs.
Final numbers for Irons. He goes an inning as DeYoung lines that one to third. A hot shot catch by Drew Schmidt. What a play. Let an L5 in the scorebook, 1 away. Final line for Irons, 1 inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts.
And going back to that play, that has to be super encouraging if you're a Victoria Generals fan. With the absence of Riley Bender and many wondering who's going to fill in that third base role long term for the rest of this postseason and for a potential title run, Drew Schmidt probably proved why.
That was hit hard off the bat, but Drew Schmidt stays with it as Tristan Russell swings and misses through a breaking ball down at the ankles. It's 0-1.
Another positive note for Victoria, if they want to at least keep their hopes up, even down 3. Avalos, Clark, Nickens, top 3, due up bottom 9.
0-1 from Ryan, another swing and a miss, a fastball outer third. 0-2 the count now.
Itinerary from Ryan, you're necessarily going to expect kind of similar mid-80s, high 80s fastball. A little bit of a mid to high 70s when it comes to the slider, a little bit more speed and less break. Kind of necessarily balances out with that one. He's also working on a cutter as well.
0-2 is fouled in between the wickets of Hal Perez, so we'll do the 0-2 again. And the Generals, as you were telling me during the break, using their bullpen, trying to keep them fresh here. 6th pitcher of the night.
More likely than not, this is just so these guys can just have an opportunity to have one last outing in the regular season and get them prepared, more likely than not, to be ready for game 1 of the postseason, and especially for guys like Ryan with that punch out.
As it's a called strike 3 on the inside part of the plate. Tristan Russell has sat down for the 2nd time today. And now with 2 outs, Taylor Tomlin stands in. He's 1 for 4.
And these are the kind of guys, Irons, Ryan, maybe even Braylon Owens, in a 2-1, 3-1, 4-run lead in the case of Victoria, especially in that road situation game 1. Those are the guys you're going to want to call up if you're Michael Oros.
Tomlin lays a bunt down the third base line. It is just foul, as that would have been a tough play for Schmidt to make, but he could have solidified his case to be the rest of the way third baseman if he had made that bare hand opportunity. It's 0-1.
Scoring update across the league, it remains 3-3 between Baton Rouge and Lake Charles. That game is still in the top of the 9th. No scoring update for you, at least for right now, between Acadian and Seguin. That game taking place at Smokey Joe Williams.
0-1 is a breaking ball in there for a strike, and Ryan a strike away.
That's exactly what you want Zach Ryan to do, and that's probably what Michael Oros you'd want. If you're a Generals fan, you're like, why do you bring in your closer in a game when you're down 3? This is why. You want to make sure and you want to have the guarantee of no more runs coming across the plate.
0-2, just missed upstairs, so it's 1-2. Sebastian Kuntz, the catcher, waits on deck. He's 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Tomlin had his hit in the 2-run 5th for Brazos Valley, looking to get on once more with 2 away. 1-2. Swung on and fouled right in front of Hal Perez, so Tomlin spoils that and stays alive.
Reminder, the 2nd game of this 2-game series and the final game of the 4-game set and the final game of the regular season. Tomorrow night at 7:05, we'll be on the air around 6:50, 6:55 here on TCL TV. Myself and Brendan Paul will be back here at Riverside Stadium to conclude the regular season. We will have the collective day off around the league tomorrow. I will be on all of the TCL platforms, obviously promoting the postseason, before we officially kick things off on Tuesday.
1-2. That one chopped weakly to Avalos at short, and he ranges in. Sidestep, right-handed, is barely in time by a step to get Tomlin. So that will end the top of the 9th at least. Generals bring 1-2-3 to the plate. It's the final countdown on TCL TV.
for the bottom of the 9th inning as your Victoria Generals trail the Brazos Valley Bombers 4-1. We head to the bottom of the 9th and just the 3rd different arm for Brazos Valley as you see the upcoming schedule, which we'll reiterate following this one, as it is bottom 9 and the prohibitive closer that has been for much of this summer for the blue and gold is back, and his name is Daniel Dial.
And for Danny Dial so far this summer, it's been a great one for him. 4-0 record, 1.8 ERA making his 14th appearance, 20 innings pitched, 17 strikeouts to just 10 walks. His last appearance was in a 6-2 win over Seguin on the 23rd. He went 2 innings, allowed 2 runs in that 9th inning, 4 hits, struck out 1 and walked 2, but he's been productive all summer long.
Dial, of course, is responsible for the last time the Victoria Generals lost. It was a part of one of those games, or as a part of both of the games, I should say, that Brazos Valley won here in this ballpark in the month of June, and now on the verge of doing just that again here in the month of July and stoking hope amongst Bombers fans that they can once again win in this ballpark with the postseason just around the corner. Anthony Avalos at the dish. First pitch, breaking ball for strike 1 at a mere 71 miles an hour.
Good breaking ball to open things up. It looks like Dial's going to opt to go a little backwards approach here. Breaking ball, then fastball.
0-1. Outside corner, Avalos lays off. It is a ball and a strike. Ant-Man, as he extends his on-base streak once again to another night, is 0 for 3, but reached base on a hit by pitch back in the 4th. 9th time he's been hit in the last 6 games. 1-1. Swing and a miss, strike 2.
By the way, for Anders, 4 1/3, only allowed 2 hits, no runs, walked 2, and struck out 6. What an outing for Randy.
Incredible outing. A 1-2. Outside and low, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Perfect situation if you're head coach Michael Oros to have the top 3 of your order in Avalos, Clark, and Nickens. 2 of which in the top 10 in batting average in the TCL. Line drive into center field. That will drop for a base hit. And the perfect start for Michael Oros' Generals. It is a leadoff base runner here in the bottom of the 9th on the form of a base hit.
Big start for Anthony Avalos. That's what you put him at the top of the order for. And the University of Houston Cougar now puts some traffic on base here.
And Connor Clark, who has been off the base pads all night, 0 for 4 with 2 punch-outs, falling victim to John Anders twice, will now face Daniel Dial for the first time. The UT Tyler Patriot to face the Texas A&M International. Another great breaking ball for strike 1. That one even slower, 69.
That's a big speed difference from his fastball there. A big difference that Danny Dial has taken advantage of in many of his outings this summer.
No balls and a strike here to Clark. Leadoff man Avalos at first base. Inside, nearly hits Clark. A pickoff throw over to first, and that one gets past the first baseman Griffith. Avalos advances another 90 feet on the error by Coons.
You know, that's not often something that Sebastian has done very often this summer, but that's a costly one as it puts a speedy guy in Avalos in scoring position as the Generals look to cut into this deficit.
It is an E2 that will bring Avalos now into scoring position for Clark. And if he reaches base, the tying run will come to the plate in Cameron Nickens, who has had a grand slam here in this ballpark. He also has had one on the road. Of course, Nickens leading the league in home runs with 3. Clark awaits his 1-1 from Dial. Here it comes, fouled back.
And for all the people thinking out there, 3, that's it? Well, this is the first time most of these guys are swinging wood bats, so the metal to wood adjustment definitely favors the pitcher, so these hitters have done a nice job to adjust.
That's why the offenses, especially in leagues like this, struggle out the gate, but when they reach this point, they're basically at their peak. Victoria has proven that. Dials 1-2. Just below the knees, 2 balls and 2 strikes. The bottom part of the zone for both sides tonight, not getting probably the calls they want.
Yeah, that bottom part of the plate is off limits for these pitchers, I guess, because both sides have not gotten favorable calls.
Wide open hole, though, on that right side of the infield for Clark to take advantage. That one gets behind The catcher in Coons, and Avalos advances another 90 feet. He's 90 feet away from the plate. The payoff pitch now awaits here for Clark.
And that's a big opportunity as Avalos advances all the way around the diamond, first to third on this at-bat, still with nobody out, so Avalos is a danger to score on any ball hit into the infield or outfield.
Second consecutive inning where Victoria has had the leadoff runner reach third base. Diego Diaz was not brought home. Can Connor Clark avenge? His payoff. Check swing. He does not go around fully. And it is runners at the corners with nobody out here in the bottom of the ninth, and the tying run coming to the plate.
For you, you've got a tough guy on the mound in Danny Dial to try and solve and hit a home run, but you've got your man, your home run man at the plate. You've got the situation where a long ball ties it.
Two of Nickens' 3 home runs have come on the road. The only one in this ballpark coming last week against Seguin. First pitch, breaking ball just above the zone for a ball and no strikes at 71 miles an hour again.
Be interested to see where that one missed. At least from our vantage point, it looked pretty good, but umpire makes the final call.
Avalos at third, Clark at first. Tying run in the form of Nickens at the dish. Dials one out. Upstairs. Try to go for the fastball at 83.
We talk about that big difference, that fastball at 83. One of the earlier breaking balls was at 69. 14 miles an hour is a big difference for these hitters to adjust to.
Cameron Nickens, though, has proven he can adjust. Number 9 in the league in batting average coming into tonight. Inside corner called strike one. That one again. This one at 68. A wide speed difference for the soon-to-be Austin P. Governor, who has come through so many times for these Generals in clutch situations. The 2-1. Line drive down the left field line, just foul. Members of the Victoria Generals dugout out of their seats as that one got off the bat of Nickens. An even count.
That was close down that left field line. We saw Nickens poke one down the right field line earlier in this ball game. He'll look to do it again here on a 2-2.
2 for 4 tonight with 2 singles is number 49. 2-2. Running is Clark. Swing and a miss, but it is a foul ball. Clark would have been safe if Nickens swung and missed for out number 1. But Clark now being told by the bases umpire to go back to first base.
And, you know, I don't know. That may be one of those opportunities or one of those situations where you want the strike 3 call if you're playing strategy to get 2 in scoring position with only 1 out. Still some dangerous power coming up.
Drew Schmidt sitting on deck, who is 0 for 4, reaching on a fielder's choice. 2-2. Way outside, it gets away from Coons. Coming home to score is Avalos, and he will do so with ease. Nickens remains the tying run at the dish, but the Generals now have their deficit in half. It is 4-2.
And a good job by Avalos on the jump ready as that one got away from Kuntz. And now you got a situation where you've got another run in scoring position to cut it to a 1-run game. And Nickens at the plate could tie it with 1 swing of the bat.
Avalos scoring on Dial's wild pitch. Clark advancing to second on that exact same pitch. Nickens remains the tying run. He can reach. The winning run would be Drew Schmidt on deck. Dial's payoff. Check swing. He did not go around. Clark and Nickens tempted by breaking balls away, but both lay off. And now Mark Whitehead has now stepped out of the Bombers' dugout. There is no one as of right now in throwing in their bullpen.
It's going earlier, so you may see Stoops ready and waiting in case things go haywire for Dial, but for his confidence, for Danny Dial's confidence, that is, he's going to want to try and finish this ball game, and he's got the tools to make it happen.
It's important to remind those in the ballpark tonight, or those at least watching here on TCL TV, Travis Bragg, no Travis Bragg, nor Damian Whitfield are in the building right now, so neither of them could come in to pinch hit. As many of you may believe that, this would be a perfect time to maybe have a pinch hit bat like theirs. Fortunately, the Generals and head coach Michael Oros does not have that luxury. The majority of men sitting in that Generals bullpen are either guys already in the lineup or their bullpen. So they do not have that luxury, but in this kind of a situation where the winning run is now at the plate with still nobody out, it's only fitting, and it's the man who is 7 for his last 18 in his last 4 games, in Drew Schmidt.
And you touched on him in your Did You Know segment that Whataburger presented, and this would be a good time for him to come through if he's able to. Winning run he represents, and the tying run is on first.
Clark and Nickens at second and first, respectively, on walks. Dial takes his time. The first pitch to Schmidt, inside, 4-1 at 84. It'll be interesting to see what the pitch sequencing is going forward for Dial, with him heavily favoring breaking balls early in the count. But now facing guys who can get on top of breaking balls. Both him and Jacob Sanchez, who sit on deck. 1-0. Inside, strike 1. And no surprise that Schmidt here at least is trying to go with a conservative approach, at least to start.
Absolutely. You don't want to try and swing it too many pitches early if you're Drew Schmidt. You want to stay back and see if you can get one to hit.
Clark and Nickens laying off breaking balls away to get on base. 1-1. Low, and that one again gets away from Coons, but he keeps the ball in front of him. It is 2 balls and a strike. The runners don't advance.
Sebastian Kuntz has done a nice job behind the dish, sort of blocking these pitches that could have gone to the backstop. And, not only are you saving 90 feet, but in some of these cases when the bases were loaded, you're saving a run.
Schmidt trying to calm down his heartbeat. So is Daniel Dial on the mound. 2 balls and a strike. Upstairs, 3 balls and a strike. It is 82. And the fastball command, at least in this 9th inning, Brendan, not going Daniel Dial's way.
So what does that mean? You got to go to the breaking ball and try and get Drew Schmidt fooled on one, or to ground one into a double play to get a second out, or to get 2 outs.
Could be a bases loaded, nobody out situation if Schmidt holds off his swing. Wouldn't be surprised if he does so. The 3-1. And he gets ball 4. Drew Schmidt pumped up and clapping his hands as he walks 90 feet. 3 consecutive base on balls from Daniel Dial. And now Jacob Sanchez, who was responsible for the last walk-off the Victoria Generals had, now with an opportunity to do so. Victoria, 3 walk-offs, as they now have the tying run in scoring position and the winning run at first base.
This is a pressure situation indeed. Bases loaded, nobody out. Dial looking to try and calm down here.
First pitch. Inside, no call. It is a ball and no strikes. Sanchez tonight has been hit by pitches twice by 2 different pitchers, but is lined down and grounded out as well. The speedy Clark, 90 feet away. Certainly an opportunity for a sacrifice fly if he gets underneath one. Nickens at second, Schmidt at first. 1-0. Outside corner called strike 1. Late strike 1 call, but a much needed one indeed.
It is, and if you're Danny Dial, that gives you some information. You weren't getting them low, you weren't getting them high. You're getting them outside, so maybe live a little on the outside.
Certainly will be a risk. The righty facing a mostly right-handed lineup the rest of the way. 2 balls, no strikes. Or 1-1, I should say, is a swing and a miss. It is now 1 ball and 2 strikes. I was a little confused with the scoreboard operator, but it is a ball and 2 strikes here for Sanchez. It could be a massive out number 1 if Dial can get around the dangerous UTRGV Vaquera. Sitting on that right side of the rubber. 2-1. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Jacob Sanchez goes down swinging. And now if you're Brazos Valley, a double play ends the ball game.
That is a huge out number 1 for Danny Dial. Not only just to get an out on the board, but for the confidence. That gets the dugout up and jumping. Danny Dial's pumped up, and as you said, one pitch could end this ball game.
But Diego Diaz doubled on the last ball that he saw. And if he does so right here, we have a tie ball game. Generals would want the exact same result. First pitch. Ground ball to the first base side. Griffith is going to throw home. Easy out number 2. And no other throw is made. Bombers go conservative with the defensive play, but they get the lead runner. It remains a bases loaded situation. And now Mark Henning, who, as we mentioned earlier in this ball game, already has a grand slam under his ledger this summer. If he did so again, it would end this ball game miraculously. But now it is an out at any base that ends it.
And I like the approach from Harrison Griffith. You don't want to try and have to throw over to second, retreat to first for the double play. Just get the lead runner, keep it a 4-2 game, and now Danny Dial can focus everything and dial in right at the plate.
Wise words there. 2 for 4 is Henning with 2 singles and a run scored. First pitch. Upstairs, no ball and no strikes. Clark was tagged down to the plate. For those of you scoring at home, Cameron Nickens now sits 90 feet away. Drew Schmidt now sits at second base. And Diaz now sits at first on the fielder's choice. 1-0 is called on strike 1. That is an 83-mile-an-hour fastball on the opposite half. It's a ball and a strike.
Good pitch from Dial. Outside third is going to be where you want to live if you're Dial. You've gotten a lot of calls. You can try and get some magic.
Outside, 2 balls and a strike. 1 walk, at least on the part of Henning, would make it a 1-run game and would send Hal Perez to the dish. The Generals so dominant in their home ballpark, trying to avoid falling to Brazos Valley here for a 3rd time. 2-1 from Dial. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Bombers are a strike away.
And what a response this would be for Danny Dial. You get the bases loaded, nobody out. If you're able to get out of this one with a win, you are feeling sky high.
Bombers have been defined on the punch-out for much of their relief outing, led by John Anders. Can Daniel Dial, with already a strikeout in this 9th inning, shut the door right here? Or can Mark Henning keep this game alive with a single possibly into right field that could either make it a 1-run game or tie it? The 2-2. Line drive into right field, that will drop. 1 run will score. Schmidt is being waved home. There will be no throw. Throws to third base. We are tied. Winning run, 90 feet away. Mark the Bark Henning.
And Mark Henning continues to be clutch here against the Bombers this season. The bright spot for Brazos Valley, you didn't give up the win. The game's still tied. Focus on getting the last out and go to extras.
If this series is anything of what we expect in the postseason, we are in for one wild ride as the Victoria Generals score 3 unanswered in the bottom of the 9th inning and scored the 2 tying runs down to their final strike. And Hal Perez will look to be the hero. He already has an RBI double tonight. Back in the 4th, he's 1 for 3. 11 of his 12 RBIs this summer coming in the second half. First pitch below the zone, ball 1 from Dial.
You got to put that behind you if you're Danny Dial and the Bombers. Focus on getting Perez. Take this ball game to a 10th frame, or you still have a chance.
Generals looking to walk it off with 4 unanswered in the bottom of the 9th. 1-0 upstairs. And it looks like, at least for Danny Dial, that fastball grip and command that looked like he was gaining back at least somewhat, he might now be losing it now. Nickens and Schmidt, if you're scoring at home, were the ones that came around to score. 3 of the top 4 hitters for Michael Loros have scored in this inning. 2-0's inside corner, strike 1 at 84.
So now you've got to imagine, if you're the Bombers, that Jay Stoops, who was throwing earlier, will be thrust into action in the 10th.
Diego Diaz sits 90 feet away, representing as the winning run. It is now 3 balls and a strike, with Mario Mendoza Jr. sitting on deck with a chance to have the Generals bat around in the bottom of the ninth. Dial on the right side of the rubber. The 3-1. High pop-up. Looking to get it is the third baseman, Russell, but that one will go beyond the dugout and into the third base party deck. Just behind the Generals' dugout. Could have been a scary situation for Perez to end the inning, but he stays alive for now. Payoff pitch awaits.
Another 2-strike count with 2 outs in a high-pressure situation. Welcome to the TCL After Dark, folks.
We're just around the 10:30 hour here in the Central Time Zone. If you're just joining us, 4-4 game. Payoff pitch from Dial. Outside ball 4. The fourth base on balls at the bottom of the ninth for Daniel Dial. And the bases are loaded with 2 outs. The winning run remains 90 feet away. And Mario Mendoza Jr., a man who began this summer 4 for 42 and is now 10 for his last 27. One of the hotter hitters in the TCL in the month of July, will now have a chance to be the hero in a bases loaded 2-out bottom of the ninth situation.
And it looks like Mark Whitehead is staying in the dugout. It will be up to Dial to try and get that final out to send it to extras.
Mendoza waits. Diaz at third. Henning at second. Perez at first. First pitch. Low ball 1. You're the Bombers broadcaster. Do you believe this is a wise decision to keep Dial in this game?
I think you got to do it for the confidence. I think once he finds that zone, he will lock in, and he needs one more out. I think if he focuses on the hitter at the plate, he'll have success.
Well, he doesn't need one more out. He needs one more out. Simple put. 1-0. Just at the letters. 85 miles an hour on the fastball. Ball and a strike here to Mendoza. There is nowhere else to turn. There is nobody in the on-deck circle. Everyone knows this is the game. We either go to extras or this game is over. 1-1. Line drive to left center. This is a chance to split the gap, and that will! The Victoria Generals, night after night, memory after memory, 20-3 at home. They never resist in front of the faithful. 34-12, their 4th walk-off win, and Mario Mendoza Jr. is the hero on Strikeout Cancer Night. 5-4 your final. 4 unanswered in the bottom of the ninth.
And that is a tough way to lose the ball game if you're Mark Whitehead and the Bombers. You had that one in control for most of the way, but Victoria, like you said, you can never count them out. And in the bottom of the ninth, they string together a 4-run ninth inning, and as you mentioned, they went 1-9, and it was Mendoza who finished the job.
It was Mendoza who finished it indeed, and on a night where so much went on. Strike zone was being many ways spread out. So many punch-outs. And the Victoria Generals again prove why this team is maybe head and shoulders above everybody else in this league. They are now 9.5 games past the rest of the spectrum as they win this one 5-4, trailing 4-1 coming into the bottom of the ninth against the reliable Daniel Dial, whose ERA was under 2 coming into this game. And now gives up all 4 on his watch to end this one. And truly, and I said this right as the game was tied, I mean, we're going to be seeing every one of these games now the rest of the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to say that these last 3 games, regardless of the fact that the Generals have been on the right side each of the last 3, if the Bombers can at least win one of these games, I mean, it's anybody's series.
Absolutely, and we talked about it all night. The pitching matchup is going to be crucial. Game 1 is a pivotal game, and that's why the Generals bring out Ben Pollenschultz, and the Bombers will bring out Bryson Walker. Those are your 1As, the guys you want to set the tone because you don't want to leave anybody in the bullpen.
And I would take a game like this with those pitchers on the mound any day of the week.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's a situation, like as you mentioned, where if Brazos Valley has to be tested, they rely on their home pitcher, and they get a win at home, having to just win one game, but they have to do so in this building, and that's the biggest statement.
And this series upcoming, after Sunday and after Monday. Everyone's going to need a day off on Monday because we're going to have must-see TCL TV.
Yeah, and no offense, and we want to make this clear, the Acadiana Lake Charles series we think is going to be great. I think we all know that Lake Charles, the fact that it's their first year in the league, and the Cane Cutters being as hot as they are, it should be an incredibly fun series. But as we mentioned at the very top of this broadcast, this series not only determines who's going to the championship game, but it's a winner-take-all, and the winner will most likely have home field advantage. And in that kind of a game and in that kind of a setting, it's those kinds of influences, the small things like home field advantage, that could be the difference.
Absolutely. I mean, you get a ballpark like Riverside, you get a ballpark like Edible Field packed with hundreds, potentially up to 1,500
fans throwing out of the stadium. I mean,
you could.
You think this fan base is energized now? I mean, my goodness.
Just wait till the playoffs roll around. I mean, the Generals had a fantastic crowd tonight. The Bombers brought in 1,500 last night. I mean, whoever hosts the championship, whether it's Victoria, whether it's Brazos Valley, it is going to be tough sledding for whoever makes it out of Louisiana.
No, absolutely, it is going to be. We'll quickly check the TCL scoreboard before we sign off. Baton Rouge with a 4-3 victory in 10 innings, no less, in Lake Charles as they're able to secure a victory. Much needed one considering the fact that this is nearing the end of their season. But we will quickly at least point out at least the final score. We haven't yet to receive the final numbers on this contest, at least tonight. All right, we now do. 3:05 in 9 innings. 3 hours and 5 minutes is your final score. The Victoria Generals with 5 runs on 8 hits and on error and leaving 14 runners on base. The Victoria Generals. Meanwhile, Brazos Valley, 4 runs on 7 hits, 1 error. They leave 8 runners on base. The winning pitcher tonight is Zach Ryan, which is kind of coincidental in a walk-off situation like this. And no surprise, Daniel Dial, the loser tonight with, surprisingly enough, 3 of his 4 runs given up in that 9th inning unearned. An interesting spice note considering the fact that his ERA now sits at 2.18. Doesn't really change much at all.
Not too bad, but you never want to have that loss in your column, especially Dial was 4-0 before the fact. Now he'll be at 4-1, and that also hurts your strikeout to walk ratio as he walked 3 batters in a row, Clark, Nickens, and
4 in total.
4 in total, including Hal Perez in the 8th spot. So that doesn't help. But the thing is, we talked about it, the games don't mean much right now. But
it's the same teams.
It is the same teams, and it is indicative of what kind of momentum you will ride into Tuesday.
So that's the key thing here, and that's why I'm going to ask you this before we sign off. Tomorrow, the Bombers are going to try to at least get 1 out of this 4-game series. And while this 4-game series may not necessarily matter as much, we do not know what the scoreline is right now in Acadiana and Seguin. And if the Cane Cutters win, there's a chance that the Cane Cutters could have that number 2 next to their name instead of number 3. What do the Bombers need to do to try to get some kind of momentum so that when they go into the off day Monday and when they have their ace, their bulldog, and Bryson Walker on Tuesday, what do they need to do that was kind of different? Obviously, they had the resilient pitching. It felt like they had everything they needed going into that bottom of the 9th. After this kind of a loss, what needs to change? What does Mark Whitehead have to say to his crew? Because like you said, he only brought 15 guys to this ball game today, and there's probably going to be different pitchers he brings tomorrow. What needs to change mentally for this team now?
Well, the first thing mentally, to quote the great Bob Seger, turn the page. This game is history. Focus on tomorrow. See if you can get a win tomorrow to close out the regular season. Not only does that close out your regular season with a win, puts you at win number 24. You go 24-20, but it rides momentum. Momentum is crucial, especially with these second-half teams. It gives you a win going into Tuesday when, as you mentioned, Bryson Walker, TCL strikeout king, will be on the mound.
Well, will certainly be an interesting one indeed. The last update we at least had, and we're at least checking this here because we want to at least be accurate for all you fans at home. And yes, all right, we have the final score. The Acadian Cane Cutters beat the Seguin River Monsters 3-2, scoring the, let alone winning run in the top of the 9th inning. So, thrilling night of baseball. 9th inning winner, that one. 10th inning winner out in Lake Charles. And then, of course, the walk-off. Great night for baseball on this Saturday night. On a night where we literally said coming in, these games don't really mean much. don't really matter. It still was great baseball regardless, and really showing that TCL baseball is great at any time regardless of the stakes.
Absolutely. The TCL said, well, y'all don't think these games matter, we don't care about them. Well, we're going to give you a walk-off here at Victoria. We're going to give you a ninth run go-ahead in Seguin. We're going to give you a 10-inning game between Baton Rouge and Lake Charles just to prove y'all wrong.
But you laid the stakes. Now the pressure is on the Bombers because now there is a possibility that if they have an opportunity to upset Victoria, because that is still 100% on the table in the Texas semifinal, there's a chance now that they have to go to Fallbacher Field for a potential championship game, and those kinds of home field advantages mean so much, and you've been to Fallbacher Field twice this season.
Yes.
You know how excited that playoff field gets, and you know how energized, we both know how energized they were last night, clinching their postseason spot. Well,
Absolutely.
that's going to at least do it for us here on this Saturday. Me and Brendan will be back here in this broadcast booth tomorrow for the final game of this 4-game series. I want to thank, of course, all of the Victoria Generals crew and our Vice President and General Manager, Mike Yoakum, for making this possible, as he always does. But that is going to do it for us. For the voice of the Brazos Valley Bombers, Brendan Paul, my name is Max Cepeda, signing off from Riverside Stadium. The regular season finale is tomorrow. Generals looking for a 4-game sweep and looking to possibly have a 7-game winning streak to end the regular season. Can they do so? We'll find out tomorrow. We'll see you then. First pitch at 7:05 will be on the air at 6:50, 6:55 here on TCL TV. But once again, your final score. The Victoria Generals walk off the Brazos Valley Bombers 5-4 with 4 unanswered runs in the bottom of the 9th inning to come back and clinch their 4th walk-off win of the summer. We'll see you tomorrow for the regular season finale, and good night from Riverside Stadium.